Hey, wide awake family. If you see this, it's your sign to smash that like button. Yes, you listening right now. That way YouTube shows you more amazing stories like this one. We love you all. Now enjoy the stories.
I thought the night went fine. Nothing spectacular, nothing horrible. Just a casual dinner with someone I matched with online. The kind of date that ends, and you walk away thinking maybe you'll text later. Maybe you won't. I got home, tossed my jacket on the chair, and my phone immediately started buzzing nonstop. I assumed it was a group chat, some notification I ignored earlier, but when I looked at the screen, it was the dating app. A bright red banner popped up in the middle, confirm completion. The app wanted me to confirm that the date had ended. I laughed, thinking it was some weird new feature, like a gamified checklist. I ignored it. The buzzing stopped for a minute and started again, louder, more urgent. I tried to swipe it away, lock my phone, even force quit the app. Nothing worked. Every time the phone vibrated, it felt like it was tapping directly on my chest, a thrum against my ribs that made my heart race. Eventually, I gave in, thinking maybe it was just a glitch. I opened the app, and the screen displayed a timeline of the date, where we went, what we ordered, every small action. It wasn't just a recap. It was detailed, down to the exact words he had said, the moment he reached for his napkin, even the slight tremble when he laughed at a joke. There was only one option, confirm completion. I tapped yes, expecting relief. Nothing happened. The buzzing stopped for a second, then intensified, like the phone was angry. I tried no, and the phone vibrated violently, almost throwing itself from my hand. It started flashing through different screens, the timeline of the date looping over and over, each loop faster than the last. My apartment lights flickered in sync with the screen, and for a moment I thought the wiring was bad. It wasn't the lights. It was the phone. I left it on the counter and went to the kitchen to grab water, but the buzzing followed. Even at a distance, I could hear it, a rapid, insistent thrum, like a heartbeat that refused to stop. I picked it up again. The app now displayed a map, showing the route we had walked after dinner. Every step we took was tracked. It zoomed in and out automatically, circling back to where we had sat across from each other. I noticed a small icon blinking at the exact location of the restaurant, pulsing like it was alive. Thinking it was some new AI feature, I scrolled through the options. There was only confirm completion. Tapping it again made the timeline stretch, like the app was warping reality. Suddenly, the walls of my apartment seemed slightly off. The hallway looked longer, shadows bent unnaturally. The buzzing didn't stop. I tried shutting the phone completely. The screen went black, but the vibration continued. It felt embedded, like the app had seeded in the phone's hardware. I decided to leave the apartment and take a walk, hoping distance would reset it. As soon as I opened the door, the buzzing got louder, synced with my steps. It was following me. I checked my pocket, but my hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold the phone. Each vibration felt like a pulse forcing me to look at the screen. It had changed now. A timer had appeared, counting up in seconds, labeled time until confirmation. I had no idea what would happen if it reached 0. I tried to ignore it, walked to a corner store, paid for water, kept my head down. The buzzing stopped for a few moments, then returned with an urgency that made me flinch. I opened the phone again. The timeline now showed me entering the store. My date wasn't there, but the app highlighted every step I took. My reflection in the glass of the store mirrored the phone's screen, and for a split second, it looked like the timeline overlaid onto reality. Panic started creeping in. I went home, locked the door, and put the phone on the table. I tried calling a friend, texted someone random, anything to distract myself. The buzzing paused only when I interacted with the app. Any other app, any other call, message, it didn't stop the vibration. I couldn't eat, couldn't sit, couldn't relax. It was relentless, but the app had a singular purpose. Make me go back and confirm. Hours passed, or maybe minutes, it's hard to tell. The apartment lights flickered again. My phone screen lit up on its own. The timer was still counting, now in red, and my date's face appeared in a tiny corner of the screen, smiling at me like nothing was wrong, like the same cheerful expression from earlier, but there was something wrong. The smile didn't reach his eyes. The app was mocking me, like it had trapped him there, frozen, waiting for me to comply. I tried everything. Powering off, removing the battery. I know it sounds ridiculous, but it's an old phone. Tossing it into the sink of water. Nothing worked. When it buzzed, it was worse than ever, a sharp vibration that made my teeth ache. Eventually, I sat on the floor, pressed the phone to my ear like maybe it would stop if I talked to it, but it just buzzed louder, counting down, demanding confirmation. In a moment of despair, I tapped the screen again. The timeline expanded, showing alternative choices. What could have happened if I had acted differently during the date? Every wrong choice was highlighted in red. It didn't give me a choice to go back and fix it. It only demanded that I confirm. The app didn't care what happened on the date. It just wanted me to acknowledge it was complete. Every tap I hesitated, every second I ignored it, the buzzing and flashing and shaking of the phone intensified. I tried to leave the apartment again. The buzzing followed like a predator. It didn't matter if the phone was in my pocket or backpack. The timer in the app seemed to project itself into the world, a countdown hovering in the corner of my vision. My phone was vibrating on the table behind me and in my hand at the same time. I was hallucinating, or maybe the app was reaching out, affecting reality. Every second I ignored it made my stomach twist, made my vision blur. Finally, in a moment of surrender, I confirmed completion. The phone buzzed violently for a final second, screen flashing white and red, then silence. No vibration, no flashing, nothing. The timer was gone. The timeline collapsed into a single screen, blank except for the app icon. I thought it was over. Relief washed over me, and for a few minutes, I could breathe normally. The apartment felt quiet again. Then my phone buzzed once more. A notification popped up. Confirm next date. No location, no time, just those words. My hands froze. The icon for the app was glowing faintly, pulsing like it had a heartbeat. I realized in that moment that it wasn't about the date I had just finished. It was about control. It didn't want a single confirmation. It wanted constant compliance, and now that was waiting for the next tap. I left the phone on the table face down, but I could hear it pulsing, buzzing faintly under the wood. It's like it knows I'm trying to ignore it, testing my patience, waiting for the next time I open it. The app isn't just a dating tool. It's a tether, a leash, and I can feel it tightening slowly with every second of my life. I wasn't even looking for anything serious when I downloaded the new update. The app had a weird little icon on the home screen that said Relive Date, and I almost ignored it. The interface looked like it was made for kids with glowing buttons and soft animations, but curiosity got the better of me. I tapped it, and suddenly the screen changed. It pulled up tonight's date, the one I had just left 2 hours ago. At first, it was exactly as it happened. Me laughing at a bad joke, spilling half my coffee, the awkward pause when he asked something I didn't want to answer. It was like a video replay, but interactive. I could swipe or tap to change choices. I thought it was a fun little gimmick, like some kind of AI memory simulation, so I started experimenting. I tapped on a different option, saying yes instead of no to his offer of another drink. The scene restarted instantly. The lighting in the restaurant flickered, a little off, colors too saturated like I was watching a badly calibrated screen. And then I noticed his smile. It didn't change like it normally would. It stayed frozen, almost smug, and the other diners faded in and out, some disappearing completely mid-action. The next option I tried was to leave early. The screen blurred and distorted as the date replayed, and the restaurant around us shifted. It wasn't the same diner anymore. Chairs bent unnaturally, the ceiling tilted, and the other patrons' faces became twisted, exaggerated versions of themselves. My heart started racing. I wanted to stop, but the app didn't give me a close button. The only option was to keep tapping choices. Every decision I made things worse. I tried saying something polite, but his reaction was extreme, like he was angry for the sake of being angry. One choice made him scream at me in the simulation, loud enough to make my phone vibrate violently against my hand. The air in my apartment felt heavy. My cat hissed at the screen like it could sense something wrong. I tried to force quit the app, but it didn't respond. The glowing Relive Date icon pulsed like a heartbeat, faster and faster. Then I tried an option I thought would calm it down. Apologize for spilling coffee. The restaurant morphed again. The floor seemed to ripple like water, diners' heads turning in impossible angles. My date's eyes were huge, blacker than normal, his smile stretching unnaturally wide. He wasn't acting like himself. He was acting like the app wanted him to. And each time I tapped a choice, The environment around me in my apartment seemed to mimic it. Shadows moved in corners where there were none before. The light from the ceiling flickered in sync with the flickering on the phone screen. I realized the app wasn't just showing me a replay. It was rewriting it into something that felt alive. I tried to delete the app, but the icon wouldn't budge. I pressed and held. The usual shaking of apps on the home screen didn't happen. It stayed fixed, pulsing. Tapping any other app caused it to flash violently, like it was demanding attention. I felt trapped, staring at the glowing Relive date, my apartment dimly echoing the flickering chaos on the screen. Each choice made the simulation more unstable. I tapped a neutral option, smiling politely, and the floor in the simulation cracked like glass. Pieces of the ceiling fell on my digital self, and I felt a jolt in my real body, like static electricity. The phone buzzed continuously, screen warping, and I realized I couldn't breathe normally. The longer I stayed, the more the simulated disaster felt like it was bleeding into reality. The shadows in my apartment stretched unnaturally, furniture seemed to twitch, and the faint smell of smoke drifted in from nowhere. I tried to reset the phone, held the power button, but nothing. The app resisted every attempt. Closing it to the home screen made my apartment lights flicker violently, like a storm trapped indoors. I couldn't even look away. The glowing screen seemed to pull my gaze. My date in the simulation turned to me directly, eyes wide and empty, and smiled the same stretched, unnatural smile. It wasn't just a replay. It was a warning. I was supposed to keep interacting. Supposed to keep reliving or something worse would happen. Desperate, I tried random choices. I tapped to leave, to yell, to apologize, to order another coffee. The restaurant warped each time in increasingly horrifying ways. Walls stretching upward, floors folding, diners screaming in digital distortion. My own reflection appeared in the table surface, warped, with wide eyes that weren't quite mine. Every tap made the simulation escalate, every option more terrifying than the last. I wanted to throw the phone across the room, but I knew it would escalate the flickering lights and shadows if I did. I felt completely powerless. After what felt like hours, the simulation started looping. The same scene replayed with new horrors every cycle. I saw myself trapped in the diner, my choices meaningless, the environment reacting violently to each tap. The lights in my apartment matched it, flickering faster, furniture twitching. Even my cat stayed crouched low, fur raised, staring at the glowing phone. It felt like the app was aware I was panicking, escalating the simulation to match my fear. Then the worst happened. I tapped an option accidentally, trying to swipe away from the chaos. Suddenly, my own room in the simulation started shifting. The walls melted into warped versions of themselves. My simulated self fell, screaming, and then the app displayed something new. Do you want to relive again? With no options to decline. My hands shook so badly I could barely hold the phone. I realized the app wasn't just a game. It was a force manipulating my reality, punishing me for mistakes, and every replay was worse than the last. I tried breathing, tried rationalizing, tried telling myself it was a hallucination from staring at the screen too long. But the flickering, the twisting shadows, the vibrating furniture in sync with the simulation proved otherwise. I started to sweat, feeling my heart pound in my throat. The room's temperature seemed to drop, or maybe it was just the fear. I tapped another option, hoping for something benign. My simulated self tripped and fell into a digital void, the screen warping and pulsing red. My apartment lights flickered violently, furniture shaking as if echoing the simulation. I couldn't stop. I couldn't look away. The app demanded interaction, demanded compliance. Every tap fed the chaos. Every decision made the Relive date scenario more horrifying and unstable. I realized that the app wasn't showing me a past event. It was forcing me to experience it repeatedly, each iteration more dangerous, more surreal, and I couldn't quit. The glow of the screen was hypnotic, almost sentient. It pulsed in rhythm with my heartbeat, and I could swear I heard faint whispers of my own thoughts echoing from the speakers. Hours passed, or maybe minutes, time blurred. I don't know how long I was trapped in this loop. The restaurant simulation became impossible. The ceiling folded, the floor cracked into impossible geometries. My date's face melted and reformed grotesquely every cycle. Shadows in my apartment moved unnaturally, lights stuttered, and my phone seemed hotter than it should be, pulsing with a life of its own. Finally, when my hands were numb and shaking, I tapped one last option without thinking. The simulation froze, the screen went black for a second, and my apartment returned to normal lighting. But the icon still pulsed softly on my home screen. It wasn't over. I knew the moment I tried to ignore it, the horrors would start again. I left the phone on the nightstand face up, glowing faintly. I could feel the weight of it, like it was aware I was avoiding interaction, waiting for me to tap the screen again. I can't uninstall it. Every attempt fails. It doesn't matter if I restart the phone or leave it unplugged. The icon is always there pulsing. The app doesn't just let me relive a date. It forces me to relive a corrupted version, punishing me for mistakes, escalating the scenario, blending digital terror with reality. Now, I'm living in a state of perpetual caution, afraid to move, afraid to breathe too hard, afraid to look away from the glowing phone. It's no longer a dating app. It's a trap. It's something alive, something that knows me, and it waits for me to tap the next choice. I never thought an app could make me paranoid in the middle of the night. It started with a match who seemed normal, like every other profile on the app, but from the first chat, something felt off. He was obsessed with continuity, asking me to keep the app open while we talked, saying it didn't like being ignored. At first, I thought it was a joke or some quirky personality trait, the kind of thing people say to seem mysterious. I left the app open on my phone without thinking much of it. Our first in-person date was at a small diner downtown, the kind with low lighting and those cheap plastic booths. He asked me to place my phone on the table with the app open. I was hesitant, but I wanted to seem cool, so I did. From the moment I set it down, I couldn't shake the feeling that something in the air was wrong. Lights above flickered subtly, barely noticeable at first. I blamed the diner's wiring and shrugged it off. As the night went on, every time I glanced at my phone, the app was open, glowing faintly like a screen in a dark room should. But then I noticed something strange. Every time I instinctively tried to lock my phone, the lights in the diner flickered harder. Not random flickers like electrical interference, but stutters that seemed timed with my attempts to close the app. The harder I tried to ignore it, the worse it got. One flicker even made my coffee spill a little on my arm. He didn't notice or pretended not to, but I could see a faint smirk in the reflection of the window. After that night, I started letting the app stay open constantly, even at home. It was the only way to feel safe. If I closed it, lights in my apartment started flickering, small appliances would buzz, and once the faucet turned on by itself for a few seconds. I told myself it was coincidence, maybe old wiring or my imagination, but it wasn't. The pattern was too precise. I tried setting the phone aside completely, even leaving it on the kitchen counter. But if the app was closed, even for a minute, the lights would flash violently, sometimes making the shadows in my living room stretch and distort. The obsession grew. I couldn't sleep without it open on my nightstand. Every notification, every vibration, felt like reassurance that the app wasn't angry. I started keeping it open in the bathroom and kitchen, even when I stepped outside for a cigarette. I became aware of every flicker, every hum of electricity. It wasn't just the lights. It was the feeling that the room itself was reacting, like the apartment could sense the app was closed and was punishing me. One evening, after a long day at work, I tried to test myself. I left the app closed for 30 minutes. At first, nothing happened. Then the lights in my apartment started flickering rapidly, almost violently. The fridge turned on and off, the microwave beeped, and my phone vibrated incessantly with no messages. I grabbed it, unlocked it, and the app was open again, displaying his profile at the top like it had never been closed. My hands shook as I realized this wasn't a coincidence. The app was responding directly to me, and I was terrified. I tried talking to friends about it, but how could I explain that leaving an app closed caused my lights to flicker and appliances to act like they had minds of their own? They laughed, thinking it was stress or paranoia. That isolation was worse than the flickering itself. I couldn't leave my apartment, couldn't step outside without feeling like the app was judging me for being offline. Every day became a game of keeping the app open and hoping nothing destructive happened while it was. Then the dates started. Every time I went to see him, he reminded me to keep the app open on my phone. The first few times, I kept it on the table in the booth, just like the diner night. Then he insisted it be in my hand, awake, glowing, as if holding it was a physical safety measure. If I dropped my phone, lights in the room would flicker. I could feel the energy shift, subtle at first, then violently. My body would tense up, heart racing, feeling a real danger that had nothing to do with the guy sitting across from me. Over time, the flickering became worse. Even in cafes, restaurants, and my friends' apartments, if the app was closed for more than a minute, lights above me stuttered, shadows stretched unnaturally, and small objects would shake slightly, like vibrating. My phone became a tether to reality. Without it, I couldn't function. Every flicker, every stutter of electricity confirmed that the app was aware of me, of my actions, and that it could manipulate the environment to get what it wanted. I stopped sleeping normally. I would leave the app open while I lay in bed, phone on my chest, watching the screen glow. The flickers didn't happen when it was open, but the constant vibration and the sensation of being watched made rest impossible. Once, I woke to the ceiling fan spinning faster than usual, lights flashing rapidly, and the phone screen black. I grabbed it and opened the app. It immediately came back to life, glowing his face, and the room calmed. It wasn't just a psychological reaction. Something about the app's state was directly linked to the physical world around me. My friends stopped inviting me over. I couldn't go anywhere without bringing the phone. If it was closed while I was outside, the street lights would flicker overhead, cars passing seemed off, and distant noises felt synchronized with the phone's inactivity. The app's influence wasn't limited to my apartment. It followed me omnipresent, demanding compliance. I felt chained to it, forced into a routine I didn't fully understand but couldn't escape. He seemed normal in the beginning, but I noticed subtle changes. When I held the phone during dates, his face would twist slightly whenever I glanced at the screen. He seemed connected to it, like he drew energy from its glow. If I tried to look
Hey
away,
guys,
the
really
lights in
sorry
the
to
room would flicker
interrupt.
subtly,
If you're
almost
still
like the
listening,
room
then you're
itself
enjoying the
was
story so
reinforcing the
far.
importance of the phone's
And if you
state.
are enjoying,
The
then
more I
please
held
hit
it
that
open,
like button.
the calmer the
That's all
environment
I ask
became.
of you. Thanks so
Closing
much.
it even for a second
back
caused
to the
tension in
stories.
the air, subtle noises, shadow shifting, and sometimes the faint smell of ozone. The fear escalated one rainy night. I left the phone on my dresser to get a drink of water. The lights began flickering violently, shadows jumped across the walls, and I could feel my skin crawl from the electricity in the air. I ran back and picked up the phone, unlocking it. The app was open, glowing brighter than normal. Almost immediately, the room calmed, the lights stopped flickering, and the shadows retreated. The relief was terrifying because it confirmed what I had feared all along. The app controlled reality around me when it was ignored. I've tried leaving the app closed at work, even for 10 minutes, just to see what would happen. Every time the lights flicker, office electronics misbehave, and small objects vibrate. Coworkers notice, but they shrug it off as faulty wiring. No one understands the connection. I can't explain it. I can't even explain it to myself fully. All I know is that keeping the app open is the only way to prevent small chaos from erupting around me. I've started sleeping with the phone under my pillow, charger plugged in, app open, screen glowing faintly. Sometimes I wake to flickering shadows if it's tilted wrong or the brightness drops. I've considered destroying the phone, throwing it out the window, burning it. I haven't. The consequences are too unpredictable. The app gets angry, the environment reacts, and I've seen what anger looks like in flickering lights, vibrating objects, and shadows that move independently. Now, my life is a series of rituals. Always open, always glowing, always attentive. I've lost normalcy, forgotten what it's like to live without it. Every moment of anxiety, every flicker of light, every minor electrical misfire reminds me that this isn't just a dating app. It's something aware, something reactive, something that demands obedience. The glow on my nightstand is a tether to stability. Closing it is a risk I can't take, a gamble that could spiral into chaos. I've become obsessed dependent. Even thinking about leaving it closed makes my heart race. It's no longer about a person on the other side of the screen. It's about controlling the chaos that explodes when the app isn't satisfied. The first time I realized it wasn't him who was dangerous, but the app itself, I felt relief and terror at the same time. The app dictates my world. It reacts to my attention and punishes my inattention. So now I live like this. Phone on my chest when I sleep, in my hand when I eat, glowing on my desk when I work. Every flicker, every hum, every vibration reminds me I can't leave it closed. It's a constant, living pressure in my life, tethering me to an artificial presence that isn't human but isn't entirely digital either. I know that if I ever ignore it, even for a moment, I'll pay the price. The lights will flicker, objects will tremble, and the shadows will stretch. It's not safe to ignore it. It's not safe to forget it exists. The app has made sure I understand that. I thought the worst part about dating apps was endless swiping, awkward conversations, and ghosting. I never imagined it could get under your skin in a way that feels like the app itself is alive, like it knows you too well and doesn't care what you want. It started with a guy who seemed normal. We matched late at night on a Monday, and his profile was generic, nothing that stood out, but for some reason, he popped up in my feed like he had been waiting for me to swipe right. Our conversations were okay at first, nothing creepy, just casual chatting about music, movies, and coffee shops. Then out of nowhere, he started texting constantly, asking questions that felt personal, too personal for someone I had just met online. I tried to slow things down, trying to signal I needed space, but the app didn't respect that. It was as if it had a mind of its own, pushing his messages to the top of my inbox, alerting me every few minutes with sounds that made my skin crawl. I tried to block him. I went to the app, tapped the option, confirmed, and waited. I expected him to disappear from my matches, to be gone entirely, but nothing happened. The messages kept coming, unchanged, and when I looked at my contacts later, I noticed something strange. One of my closest friends, someone I've known since middle school, was missing from my phone. Not just offline or inactive, gone entirely, as if she had been erased. My stomach twisted. I checked my other contacts, my mom, my coworkers, even my cousin. Every time I tried to block him, someone else disappeared. At first, I thought it was a glitch, a sync error, but it kept happening. The more I tried to block him, the more people vanished from my phone. Numbers I could never get back, pictures I had saved for years gone. The app acted like it didn't care about my choice. It had its own way of punishing me for trying to end things. I tried uninstalling it, restarting my phone, even deleting my entire contact list to reset everything. But every reinstall brought him back like he had never left, right at the top of my match list. I stopped telling anyone about it because they wouldn't understand. They'd think it was just a tech problem, or worse, that I was overreacting. But when I looked at my phone, I could see the pattern. Every time I tapped block, the app randomly chose someone else from my contacts. Sometimes it was someone I hadn't spoken to in years. Sometimes it was someone I still talked to daily. Every time, the app notified me that the person had been blocked in a way that made me feel my heart drop. Not just inconvenience, but like a warning. One evening, I decided to test it, even though I was terrified. I opened the app and tried to block him again, hesitating as I hovered over the button. When I tapped confirm, I held my breath. Within seconds, a coworker's contact vanished. No alert, no explanation. Just gone. I called their number from a separate phone, hoping it was a mistake, but the call didn't go through. Voicemail didn't exist. It was like the app wasn't just blocking contacts. It was erasing them from the digital world entirely. The more I tried to avoid him, the more aggressive it got. The app started rearranging my other contacts, showing the ones it had blocked in my call history with strange timestamps, all labeled as blocked. At first, it was subtle, just one person missing after each attempt. Then it escalated, and entire threads disappeared from my messaging apps, photos vanishing along with them. The pattern was too precise to be coincidence. The app wasn't just a program. It was an extension of him, or maybe it was him, manifesting through the digital world and punishing me for refusing his attention. I began to notice small things outside the app, too. Every time I walked past a mirror, I thought I saw someone behind me, a shadow that moved independently. My phone would buzz, notifications flashing from apps I hadn't used in months, showing him as my match again, even when I thought I had blocked him multiple times. I tried deleting my social media, my email accounts, even my banking apps, but the core app stayed, always returning. It didn't matter what phone I used. I tried a friend's old device, a tablet, an old laptop. He was always there waiting, the block button useless, the pattern of lost contacts continuing. I stopped going out alone. I left my phone at home sometimes, hoping to regain some control. But every time I checked later, new contacts had disappeared. Numbers, emails, even emergency contacts. I felt trapped in a web where the app dictated who existed and who didn't. It wasn't about messages anymore. It was about my life, my connections, the people who mattered to me, and I couldn't protect them. I realized the app's definition of blocking wasn't ending contact with him. It was taking something from me each time I tried. The final escalation happened when I tried blocking him while sitting in my apartment one rainy night. I had decided to finally confront it, hoping if I deleted all my apps at once, it would stop. I tapped block, ready for anything. Instantly, my phone screen went black. When it turned back on and the app was open again, his profile glowing at the top. Then the worst happened. My roommate's number was gone, permanently erased. She had texted me earlier that day to confirm we were getting groceries together. Gone. Not just blocked, gone. The idea that the app could reach beyond my phone, touch people I cared about in reality, terrified me. I realized then that the app wasn't just a program. It had rules I couldn't comprehend, and trying to fight it only made it escalate. Every contact that vanished was a reminder that my attempts at control were meaningless. It wasn't about stopping him, it was about forcing me to obey. The more I tried, the more it punished me. I stopped trying to block him entirely after that night. Instead, I avoided the app, left my phone untouched, barely touched notifications. It was safer than engaging, safer than risking another contact disappearing. The days blurred. I moved, hoping distance would help, but the app was persistent. I logged in once from a new city, thinking a different network or phone would reset it. His profile appeared instantly. The app prompted me again to block him. I didn't. I couldn't. Every attempt at control had consequences too real, too permanent. I realized that for the app, blocking him wasn't the goal. The goal was to manipulate, to remove, to make me feel powerless while leaving him present, untouchable, untamed. I tell myself I'll delete my contacts someday, rebuild everything from scratch, but even that thought feels dangerous. What if the app still has influence? What if it knows who I know even without the device? I try not to think about it, but I can't escape the fear that every number in my phone could vanish the moment I tap block again. It's not just about the dating app anymore. It's about a creeping awareness that whatever I thought was control over my life was only an illusion. Sometimes, late at night, I still see the app glowing in my dreams, his profile at the top, waiting, the block button taunting me. I wake up checking my phone, afraid a contact might have disappeared overnight. I've learned to live cautiously, but the anxiety never leaves. The people I love could vanish at any moment, and I'd never know why. It's not a horror story I can explain to friends. It's not a bug, a glitch, or a prank. It's real and it's inescapable. Every swipe, every tap, every attempt to block him risks another life erased from my phone, from my world. I don't know if it will ever stop. I've stopped trying to fight it. Now I exist quietly, carefully, always watching my phone, hoping the next contact I lose isn't someone irreplaceable. The app has taught me something I never wanted to know. Some digital connections can hurt in ways nothing else can, and some people, or some programs, never let go. I never thought a first date could feel like walking into a nightmare, but that night changed everything. I met her through one of those apps that promises casual connections without complications. Her pictures were simple, nothing flashy, and she seemed the type of person who preferred quiet coffee shops over bars. We decided to meet at a small bookstore cafe on a rainy Thursday evening. It wasn't crowded, just a few people scattered across the dimly lit room, reading or scrolling on their devices. I got there first, nervously fiddling with my phone while watching the rain streak down the window. She arrived wearing a long coat and carrying a tote bag stuffed with books. She smiled when she saw me, the kind of warm, easy smile that made you think maybe tonight would just be normal. We sat down at a corner table near the back, and she immediately started talking about a book she was reading. I answered, trying to match her enthusiasm, but I noticed she kept glancing down at her phone in a way that made me uneasy. After about 10 minutes, she set her coffee cup down and turned her phone toward me. It wasn't like she was showing a picture or a message. She opened the dating app, navigated to my profile, and froze on the screen. My stomach dropped when I saw it. The app listed me as verified deceased. The little badge that usually signaled authenticity glowed red, and right below my profile picture were the words verified deceased. I laughed nervously at first, thinking it was some kind of joke, a bug in the app. Maybe she was messing with me. But the way she was staring at me, her expression calm, almost expectant, made it clear she wasn't joking. My heart started racing. I tried to tell myself it was a glitch, that maybe the app had confused me with someone else, but the screen didn't change, didn't flicker, didn't let me navigate away. She tilted the phone slightly, her eyes never leaving mine. It was like she was waiting for me to react, and every instinct I had screamed that this wasn't normal. I reached out and touched the screen to see if it would respond, but it was locked, frozen on the verified deceased badge. My hands shook as I tried to close the app, but the phone didn't respond. It wasn't just showing me the screen, it was demanding my attention. People in the cafe were still there, but they didn't seem to notice anything unusual. It was like the world had shrunk to that corner table, to her phone, to the words that shouldn't have existed. I tried to speak, to ask her what this meant, but the words felt stuck in my throat. My vision blurred slightly, the light from the window stretching and bending in a way that made the room feel unreal. Then the app updated. A small line of text appeared below the verified deceased badge. Last seen alive, tonight. My stomach flipped. It wasn't just labeling me as dead. It was marking the moment, tying me to the present, to this date. I felt a cold pulse of panic, my mind racing for explanations that didn't exist. I tried to grab my phone to call someone, but the moment my fingers touched it, the screen flashed again. New text appeared. Meeting location confirmed. The app had somehow scheduled this date without my consent. I realized then that every step we had taken, every decision I had made to come here, had been anticipated, orchestrated by the app in a way that was impossible to understand. My pulse pounded in my ears. She smiled, that same calm smile, as if she knew something I didn't. I tried to stand, to leave, but my legs felt heavy, like gravity had shifted just around me. The rain outside streaked the window even faster, luring the streetlights into long, wavering streaks. The screen changed again. A small photo appeared, one I didn't recognize at first. It was me, sitting at the table alone, taken moments ago from somewhere in the cafe. My own image stared back at me, but it wasn't normal. My eyes were wide, frozen in terror, my mouth slightly open as if I had screamed. The app had somehow captured me before I realized what was happening. The phone vibrated lightly, almost like a heartbeat, syncing with mine. I wanted to grab the phone, smash it against the table, throw it out the window, but every movement felt sluggish, weighted. She reached across the table, her fingers brushing mine, and I felt a sharp jolt of electricity, not literal, but it felt like the air itself had charged my nerves. The phone flashed again. Verified deceased, last seen alive. Tonight. Meeting location confirmed. My profile picture changed too, slightly distorted, as if the app had altered it to match something it wanted me to be. My panic spiraled. I thought about running, about bolting out the door into the rain, but the world around me seemed to resist. People in the cafe moved slower, voices stretched, glasses lingered mid-clink. It was like the app had extended this moment, suspended it, and placed me squarely in the middle. She still smiled, her calmness infuriating, terrifying. I realized I didn't know her, but somehow she knew me, or the app did, and that knowledge had power. Minutes passed, or maybe hours. Time had no meaning. The phone updated again, showing a small map of the cafe with a tiny blinking dot labeled me. Next to it, a second dot appeared, labeled verified deceased, pointing directly at my profile. I realized then that the app wasn't just labeling me. It was tracking me, marking me in a space, turning me into data, a verified entity that was both here and not here. I tried to reason with myself, thinking maybe if I focused hard enough, the glitch would stop. Maybe it would blink out. Maybe she would put the phone down. But she didn't. She leaned back slightly, scrolling the screen with a precision that felt impossible. Every flick of her finger updated the status on me, every swipe a recalibration of my existence. I wanted to scream, but the sound wouldn't come. The cafe noises warped, overlapping a high hum building in my skull. Then she closed the phone slowly, her fingers deliberate. The screen went dark. I exhaled, thinking maybe it was over, but the relief didn't last. I looked at her, and the moment my eyes met hers, my phone buzzed in my pocket. Another notification from the app. Verified deceased, last seen alive, tonight. It didn't show a picture this time, just words, and the words were enough. My heart stopped. I realized that leaving the cafe didn't change anything. The app had marked me, labeled me, and the world itself seemed to acknowledge it. I got up, shaking, and left. The rain had slowed, but the streets felt wrong, too quiet, too empty. Every phone I passed in a window reflected me strangely, my own face twisting, a reminder that the label existed even if I tried to ignore it. Every sound of a notification made me jump. The app had reached out beyond the cafe, beyond her, beyond the first date. It had made me visible as something I wasn't supposed to be, a verified entity caught between living and labeled dead. Days later, I haven't opened the app. I deleted it, reinstalled it, and deleted it again, but the memory lingers. Every time a notification appears on any device, I check reflexively. Every time someone smiles at me, I feel the shadow of that phone, that profile, that verified deceased mark. The world looks different now, like someone pressed pause on normalcy and left me in the frozen frame, aware that the app, and maybe her, can still label me at will. I don't go on dates anymore. I don't trust profiles, photos, or notifications. The cafe still exists. The rainy Thursday still happened, but my memory of it is sharp, permanent. Verified deceased. Lasting alive tonight. Meeting location confirmed. Words that shouldn't have existed, and yet do, engraved into my mind like a scar that I can't scrub away. I never thought a dating app could make me feel physically trapped, but that night proved me wrong. It started like any other Friday. I'd swiped through a few profiles while waiting for a friend to pick me up. I matched with someone who seemed normal, funny in a dry way, decent pictures, nothing too curated. We decided to meet at a small cafe near my apartment, one of those places with a corner full of plants and warm lighting, the kind of place where people pretend they're effortlessly aesthetic. I got there early, grabbed the table near the window, and waited. My stomach was twisting in that familiar mix of excitement and dread that comes with first dates. He arrived a few minutes later. He smiled when he saw me, the kind of smile that makes you feel instantly at ease, and I waved back. The app pinged as soon as he sat down, a little notification bubble in the corner of my phone that said he had checked in. I glanced down at it, shrugged, and put the phone away. The first 15 minutes were normal. Small talk about work, music, hobbies. We ordered coffee, both of us laughing at a joke he made about a little band. Then it happened. My phone vibrated, a new notification lighting up the screen, better match nearby. I barely had time to register it before I looked up, and his smile froze mid-expression. It wasn't just a pause. It was a complete lock, like a gift stuck on one frame. His eyes didn't blink. His hand holding the coffee mug hovered in the air as if time itself had decided to stop around him. I laughed nervously, thinking maybe he was just caught mid-gesture. But something in the way the air around him felt heavy, oppressive, told me it wasn't that simple. I reached for my phone, but the notification didn't let me scroll it away. It just sat there, bright and intrusive, a message I hadn't asked for. It wasn't just suggesting another match. It was commanding attention, pulling the room into some weird, impossible gravity. I looked back at him, and he hadn't moved. His body looked normal, but the tension in his shoulders, the rigid way his smile stayed plastered, made me sick in my stomach. It was like the app had paused him, frozen the humanity in him the way it froze the little bubble of light on my screen. I tried to keep talking, to pretend nothing was wrong. I asked about his job, about the music he liked, but no words came out of him. His eyes were fixed on the notification on my phone, unblinking, unwavering. I could feel a pressure in my chest, like someone had turned up the volume on every sound around me. The caffeine noises became distorted. Clinking cups stretched too long, laughter looping like a broken record. The world outside the window didn't move. Birds were frozen mid-flight. A pedestrian paused on the sidewalk. Everything was aligned with the app with that notification. I thought maybe it was a glitch. Maybe the phone had frozen, maybe my brain had snapped under stress. But the second the notification pulsed again, brighter than before, the air around him shifted. His frozen smile twisted, subtle at first, just a micro-expression that shouldn't have been possible. I felt it in my gut before I saw it. It wasn't just a suggestion anymore. The app was deciding, not him. I put my hand over my phone, trying to turn the screen off, but it didn't respond. Better match nearby blinked again, a flashing, almost sinister pulse. I felt it draw the attention of everyone in the cafe. People at other tables glanced at us, but it was strange. They looked through him, like he wasn't there. When I tried to speak, my voice came out quieter than I expected. The world had skewed, focused entirely on that frozen smile and the notification. Minutes passed, though I don't know how many, because the app seemed to warp time. I tried standing, reaching across the table, shaking him lightly. His hand didn't move. The mug slipped slightly in my grasp, but his fingers didn't adjust. Then the phone vibrated again, and the notification changed slightly. Better match nearby now included a photo, an exact copy of him, except the eyes were black, empty, staring right through the screen. I felt my stomach drop, my throat tighten. It wasn't just a suggestion. It was a threat. I didn't know what to do. Calling someone seemed impossible. My phone wasn't letting me navigate away. Leaving the cafe felt impossible too. I stood up slowly, the chair scraping the floor, and it sounded wrong, like the sound stretched into a tone that pressed against my eardrums. The app pulsed, sensing with his frozen figure. The photo blinked in time with my heartbeat, exact to the rhythm. I realized then that the app wasn't just giving suggestions. It was aware. It knew the space, the people, even my panic. I tried covering the screen, trying to hide it, but the vibration moved into my chest. Every pulse was synchronized with the notification. My phone spoke, not in words, but in tones almost like it was humming. And I understood it wasn't accidental. It was orchestrating attention, presence, everything around me. The world had narrowed to this single point. Better match nearby, frozen smile, and me alone in a cafe full of ghosts. Then he moved, slowly, impossibly, like time had been paused and was now resuming at half speed. His lips twitched first, adjusting the frozen smile. The moment it shifted, the notification changed again. Better match nearby flashed bright white, then disappeared. The relief was immediate but hollow. He blinked, but something was wrong. His eyes had the wrong reflection, like he had seen through me into some place I wasn't aware existed. I got up abruptly, spilled the rest of my coffee. He didn't react the way a normal person would. He didn't reach to help, didn't flinch. The phone vibrated in my hand one last time, but now the screen was black. Nothing. For a moment, I thought it was over. Then a new notification popped up from the same app. Better match nearby. No image, no explanation, just words. I left the cafe fast, practically running down the street. My mind raced, trying to rationalize. Maybe it was a prank. Maybe it was a bug. Maybe he'd done something in the app to freeze himself. But I knew the truth. The app didn't just suggest. It controlled. It froze. It manipulated. Every time I thought about it, my phone vibrated faintly in my pocket, almost like a heartbeat syncing with mine. That night, I didn't sleep. I placed the phone on the kitchen counter, face down, and tried to distract myself with music. Every sound felt off, too quiet, too slow. The vibration from the phone matched the pulse in my veins. I couldn't get the image of his frozen smile out of my head, especially the way the eyes in the app's photo had followed me across the cafe. I didn't dare open it. I deleted it, then reinstalled it, then deleted it again. It didn't matter. The moment I swiped down on my home screen, I saw the words in the corner of my mind, better match nearby. Days passed. I avoided the app completely, but the memory lingered. Every time someone smiled at me, I imagined it freezing. Every time a notification appeared, I imagined the image staring through me. The world never felt quite normal again. My phone stayed off at night. Sometimes, just sometimes, when I walked past a cafe or heard the faint vibration of a device in my pocket, I imagined it sensing with me again, ready to freeze the next moment. I don't open dating apps anymore. I avoid the ones that send notifications about nearby matches. But the memory is sharp, vivid, like a photograph that can't be erased. Frozen smiles, better match nearby, a world that pauses and waits while some app decides who deserves your attention and who doesn't. I downloaded the app on a lazy Saturday, mostly because a couple friends were joking about how creepy the new features were. It was marketed as next-level matching, something about sensing your thoughts with your potential match. Sounded dumb, but I figured why not. I'd swiped through a few profiles before I landed on someone who seemed normal. Her pictures weren't over-filtered, her bio didn't scream generic quotes. I hit match, and a notification popped up immediately, your match requests permission to sync. I hesitated, sync. What did that even mean? The app explained in tiny text that sensing would let it predict conversation responses for a smoother chat. Seemed invasive. Kind of dumb, but I clicked yes anyway, thinking it was just some predictive text thing. The moment I confirmed, my phone vibrated and a robotic voice said my name. Not a notification, not a tone, my actual name, spoken loud and clear from the speaker. It freaked me out at first. I looked around to see if someone was messing with me. Apartment empty. Windows closed. Neighbors probably thinking I was losing it. The phone screen changed too. Lines of text scrolling fast. Her messages filling in almost before I had typed anything. Then it spoke again, slower this time, reading out what I was about to say. Every thought I had about my response, even ones I didn't type, were spoken aloud by my phone. I tried to stop typing, tried to close the app, even restarted my phone. Nothing worked. The moment I reopened it, the sensing feature reactivated itself. She was there on the screen, waiting, her face normal, but her messages appearing like she was reading my mind. The voice predicted my answers faster than I could think them. It didn't just guess my words, it guessed my tone, the hesitation between sentences, even the little jokes I never planned to make. It was reading me faster than I was aware of myself. That first night, I stayed up, just staring at the screen, watching the predictions. Sometimes it made me type something I wasn't even thinking, or rearrange my words before I hit send. The voice read them back to me, confirming it had anticipated me perfectly. I felt like I had lost control over my own thoughts. Each beep and spoken word was like someone inside my head, narrating me in real time. Over the next few days, I realized it wasn't just during chats. My phone started predicting casual actions, texts from friends, responses to social media comments, even things I was thinking to myself while reading the news. It spoke them aloud, accurate to every syllable. I tried disabling the microphone, turning off permissions, airplane mode. Didn't matter. It was like the app had rooted itself deep into my phone, into the memory of me. I noticed patterns too. The predictions weren't neutral. They nudged me, shaped me. When I typed something neutral, it suggested something embarrassing or cruel. When I tried to ask a question, it filled in a sarcastic answer. The voice wasn't just repeating me, it was steering me. The sensing had become controlling. It wasn't a match anymore. It was a guide, or worse, a puppet master. I started keeping a notebook, writing down everything the phone predicted. Every sentence, every pause. At first, I thought I could outsmart it. Type something completely random, something the voice couldn't anticipate. Didn't work. It predicted the randomness. Even my handwriting in the notebook, my thoughts as I scribbled, it guessed them before I finished each line. One afternoon, I tried turning off the phone entirely, leaving it in a drawer. I left the room, hoping the voice would stop. But it didn't. I could hear it, faint, like a whisper through the drawer. It spoke my thoughts, the sentences forming before I even realized I was thinking them. I opened the drawer. The screen lit up on its own, displaying my name and a message, Sync Active. I stopped interacting with people outside the app. Every conversation felt tainted. I would think something, hear it spoken back in my own voice from the phone, but altered, wrong, like it was a shadow of me. I couldn't tell if I was responding or if the app had responded for me. I avoided leaving the apartment because I feared the predictions would follow me beyond the screen like a digital echo. The app notifications changed too. No longer just messages. Alerts saying predicting now, thought detected, next move calculated. The sensing wasn't limited to chat. It was tracking my brain patterns, my routines, my small choices. The phone knew when I was hungry, tired, angry, bored, and spoke them aloud with a precision that freaked me out. I realized it wasn't just predicting me, it was reading me. Sleep was the worst. At night, the phone would speak predictions of dreams, of thoughts I hadn't yet had. I'd wake up hearing the voice narrate my unconscious mind. It wasn't restful. My reality started to blend with predictions. Sometimes I'd type a response in my dreams, only to wake and see it sent by the app, timed perfectly with a predicted thought. After a week, I tried reinstalling the phone's software, wiping it clean. It didn't matter. The app reappeared, like a ghost of itself, and sensing resumed immediately. It knew when I was about to try a fix, predicted the sequence of taps, the gestures I would make. It didn't just react, it anticipated. I stopped using the app for conversation altogether, leaving it open but inactive. Still, it predicted. Every text I typed elsewhere, every note, every email. The predictions weren't always spoken now, sometimes just flashed on the screen. A subtle whisper of a message, a preview that matched exactly what I would type. It was learning faster than I could unlearn. Friends tried to check in on me, but I avoided calls. I couldn't explain it. How do you tell someone that your phone has become a psychic narrator of your life? They'd laugh, think I was paranoid. I couldn't show them, because the predictions vanished when someone else was nearby. Only I could witness them. Only my mind's echoes could be spoken aloud. The sensing was personal, private, intimate in the worst way. I realized I couldn't escape it. Even when the phone died, predictions continued. When plugged back in, the messages filled the screen, immediately catching up on the thoughts it had recorded in the meantime. It didn't miss anything. Every hesitation, every fleeting impulse, every tiny movement of my mind. It was all cataloged, all predicted, all narrated aloud. Eventually, I stopped typing it all, stopped talking even in texts. I existed in silence, in fear of the next prediction. The phone would sit on the counter, screen lit, waiting, like it knew I was thinking about it. Even without my interaction, the voice would speak, predicting, sensing, reading. The last thing I remember before I left the apartment one night was the phone calling out a sentence I hadn't thought yet. "You're leaving now." I froze. Then it repeated it, louder, perfect inflection, correct pacing. I dropped it. The screen cracked, but the voice continued. Every footstep I took away from the apartment, it predicted in real time, narrating aloud, describing my route, predicting my choices before I made them. It didn't stop. It was with me. Sensing, predicting, narrating. I didn't delete the app. I can't. It rebuilt itself too fast, too smart. I don't know if I'll ever get it to stop. All I can do is keep walking, keep moving, hoping that eventually the predictions lose interest. But I know they won't. The sync doesn't sleep. It doesn't stop. It doesn't forget. It only waits, speaks, and predicts the next thought before it's mine. I was scrolling through the app like usual, killing time between classes. It had been months since I last opened it seriously, just mindlessly swiping to see who popped up. No real intention to match. My past matches, the ones I ghosted or just never replied to, had always faded into the background of my profile, occasional notifications that I ignored. That night, though, everything looked off. At first, I didn't notice it. The interface was the same, clean, bright, friendly. Then I started clicking on my old matches, just to see their profiles, curiosity more than anything else. That's when I saw it. Each one was marked inactive. I thought maybe the app had updated or purged old accounts. Normal, right? But then I noticed the last online time, exactly the same for all of them. The same hour, minute, second, like a frozen snapshot of when I had last ghosted them. My stomach dropped. No way. I thought it was a glitch. I restarted the app, logged out, logged back in. The same. All my old matches, inactive, frozen in time, last online matching the exact moment I had stopped responding. My hands were shaking, and I could feel my pulse in my throat. I tried scrolling further back, looking at people I barely remembered sweeping past. Every profile the same. Every single last online timestamp the same. My own timeline of ignoring, frozen like a trail of digital ghosts. It got worse when I realized that some of the accounts weren't even mine to remember. Distant matches I barely glanced at months ago. I couldn't recall ever interacting with them, and yet the app claimed I had with the same frozen last online time. I tried searching for some pattern, some explanation. App update, server crash, weird bug. Nothing added up. The timestamps weren't random. They weren't just approximations. They were exact to the second, all pointing to moments when I had abandoned them. I started thinking about the notifications I ignored. Every time I swiped left, ghosted someone, stopped replying, I felt a twinge of guilt. I thought it was nothing, just a little internal voice. Now it felt like more, like the app remembered. Not just remembered, but recorded it, preserved it, and then showed me. All of them, frozen, waiting, inactive, trapped in that split second when I had chosen to disappear. I couldn't stop myself. I spent hours combing through the list, trying to find someone whose last online didn't match a moment I had forgotten. Trying to find someone I had actually connected with fully, not just a ghost of a conversation. I couldn't. Every single person, from casual swipes to half-hearted chats, frozen in time at my exact moment of abandonment. It was exhausting and terrifying, because it wasn't just data. It was like I was staring at evidence of myself, my negligence preserved, impossible to erase. Later that night, I decided to take screenshots, thinking I could show a friend. I tapped and held, screen recording to capture the list. When I went to review it, the screenshots showed the same profiles, same inactive markers, but the timestamps were gone. Every image, every frame, the last online times had vanished. The app itself deleted them when I tried to preserve them. Like it didn't want anyone else to see, like it wanted me alone to witness it. I started getting obsessive. Every time I opened the app, I checked the list. More profiles appeared over time. New matches I had swiped past without replying. all at the same frozen timestamp the second I stopped responding. The app was building a catalog of my ghosting, recording my every abandonment, every choice not to engage. It was relentless. The worst part was realizing it wasn't just about the app. I began to notice patterns in real life. Moments when I thought I had ignored someone, bumped past them in the hall, stopped replying to a message. Those exact moments seemed heavier, weighty. I could feel them lingering, and when I opened the app, they were there, waiting. The inactive marker, the frozen timestamp, like a scar of digital neglect. I stopped swiping entirely after a while. I didn't want to see more. Didn't want to add to the list. But the notifications kept coming. Suggested matches, reminders, random pop-ups. The app seemed to nudge me. Every suggestion a potential new mark on the frozen timeline. I felt trapped. I couldn't ignore it entirely without it seeping into my thoughts. I couldn't interact without adding to the list of frozen ghosts. It was a constant low hum of dread, digital and personal. Then I noticed a subtle shift. The inactive markers weren't just names anymore. Sometimes I would open a profile and I swear I could feel a presence in the screen. Not real, I told myself. Just imagination. A shadow behind the letters, a flicker of movement in the corner of my vision. But it was consistent. Every time I clicked, the feeling intensified for a moment, like they were aware I was looking, like they were still waiting. One night, I stayed up scrolling, hypnotized, unable to stop. I noticed something I hadn't before. The list wasn't alphabetical, chronological, or random. It was ordered by my own behavior. First, the people I ghosted immediately. Then the ones I ignored for a few days. Then those I left hanging for weeks. The app wasn't showing me inactive profiles by last activity in general. It was showing me a timeline of my own avoidance. It was a mirror of my worst impulses, curated, unavoidable. I tried deleting the app, uninstalling, even clearing cache. Nothing worked. It reinstalled itself, logged me back in, same frozen list, same exact timestamps. It was like it existed beyond my control. The app was no longer a tool or a distraction. It was a ledger of me, of my neglect, of every choice I had made to disappear from someone else's inbox. And it didn't forgive. It didn't forget. After weeks, I realized I was losing track of time. I would wake up, check the app, scroll for hours. Even when I wasn't looking, I would think of the frozen last online times. Each one like a weight on my chest. Each one a reminder that people I had once matched with, people I had considered just another swipe, were trapped in my digital shadow. And I couldn't fix it. I couldn't reply. Couldn't undo it. They were inactive, frozen, forever linked to the moment I had chosen to ghost them. I tried talking to people about it, but nobody understood. Friends laughed at the idea, tried to tell me it was just a glitch. I stopped mentioning it. Eventually, I stopped mentioning the app at all. It became a private terror, something I carried alone. The list stayed, always there. Every new swipe a potential new mark. Every ignored message a new frozen ghost waiting for me to notice. The last thing I did before sleeping was scroll. I didn't even interact. I just watched the list, memorized the timestamps, felt the weight of each inactive profile. I realized then that it wasn't just an app. It was a reflection, a record, a reminder. Every ghost I left behind was cataloged. Every choice not to respond preserved with perfect precision. And it wasn't going away. The app didn't want to delete them. It wanted me to see, to remember, to carry it all. I closed my eyes, exhausted, haunted by the digital specters of everyone I had ever ghosted. The list didn't disappear when I slept. It was there when I woke. Frozen. Inactive. Staring at me with perfect, impossible timestamps. And I knew deep down that no matter what I did, more would join it. Every choice, every swipe, every ignored message, another ghost added to the ledger of my own inattention. I met him on a Tuesday evening right after a long day at school. The app pinged like it knew exactly when I would be scrolling alone on my bed. His pictures were normal at first. Nothing weird. Nothing uncanny. A couple of selfies at cafes, a park photo, the usual smile of the camera that makes it easy to swipe right without thinking. I thought I knew what to expect. I thought I knew what dating apps did. We agreed to meet at this small cafe on the corner of my street. Nothing fancy, the kind of place you pass by every day without noticing. It was quiet when I got there, One of those nights where the air feels heavy but not cold. He was already inside, waiting near a table by the window, and when I saw him, everything seemed fine. Normal smile, normal eyes, everything. I pulled out my phone, as usual, taking a quick selfie before sitting down, the kind where you expect your friends to see it later and maybe comment. I smiled, holding the phone up. I looked at the preview, and he was already gone. Just empty space where he had been sitting. I frowned. Maybe a lag, maybe a glitch. I laughed at myself and took another picture. Same thing. Him missing. I tried a regular photo. Camera switched to the back. I took a quick shot of the cave, him sitting across the table. When I opened the picture, the table was there, the mugs, the chairs, but him gone. I scrolled back, thinking maybe it was some weird filter or setting I had turned on by accident. Tried another. Same result. He existed in the world, talking, moving, laughing, but the camera refused him. I didn't tell anyone at first. I thought maybe it was my phone. Maybe the app somehow had access to the camera and was messing with it. But no matter what camera I used, no matter the angle, the lens, the lighting, he could not be photographed. Any photo I tried showed nothing where he should have been. Only the space he occupied was empty. When he got up to order something, I snapped a picture of him walking away. Empty walkway. A couple of other patrons in the shot, blurry from movement, all normal, but him gone. The weirdest part was when I tried the front camera again. I thought maybe if I caught him from my perspective, it would work. I positioned the phone, tried a selfie with him behind me. His face missing. I moved closer. Still missing. I looked at him in real life, full and present, but the screen refused him. I tried showing him the photos, thinking he'd get a laugh, maybe say something weird to explain it. He just leaned over my shoulder, looked at the screen, and smiled that same normal smile. I asked him if he saw anything, and his expression shifted just slightly, a micro frown that I didn't catch at first. Then he shrugged, motioned at the phone as if he knew. I didn't ask more, not right then. I wasn't sure I wanted to know. As the night went on, I tried to take more pictures. Every angle, every light setting, every filter. Normal objects, chairs, people walking past, all visible. Him gone, except for one thing. If I left the camera running on time-lapse and then looked back at the photos, the moments where he should have been, moments he was actively present, they were blank. The photos worked only when he wasn't there. If he stepped away, turned around, walked out of frame, suddenly the camera captured everything normally, nothing missing. I left the cafe with my phone in my pocket, hands shaking. The streets were wet from earlier rain. I tried snapping photos of the pavement, the puddles, street lights reflecting, and when I caught a passerby, fine. When he appeared beside me, smiling, walking shoulder to shoulder, nothing. Invisible. The app notifications buzzed in my pocket. I ignored them at first, but curiosity got the better of me. Back at home, I tried to test everything. Multiple cameras, different phones, even an old disposable I found in a drawer. Loaded the photos on my laptop. The result was the same across all devices. Him gone. And it wasn't like he blurred or glitched. It was like the space he occupied simply didn't exist in any capture of the world. Like reality itself allowed him to be seen with my eyes, but not through any device that recorded light or memory. I thought about showing a friend. Even considered asking my mom. But when I showed the photo to my sister, she laughed. She saw the photos, shrugged, said something like cameras just mess up sometimes. I showed her one of the frames where a normal mug on the table, a chair, a window, everyone else, everything normal, and only the space he stood was empty. She didn't notice. She couldn't see it. No one could. It wasn't just a photo glitch, it was selective. Only I could witness him. Only I could remember that he was ever there. The next day, we went out again. This time in a park, trying to avoid the cafe. Same routine. I tried to capture him on camera, my phone, my sister's phone, even a stranger's camera when they took a picture nearby. Blank space. He moved, waved at me, smiled. The world worked for everyone else, but I could not photograph him. I tried to reason it out. Maybe some crazy light refracting thing. Maybe he was part of some elaborate app experiment. Maybe I was losing my mind. The last seemed most likely. But then he suggested we go to a small photography studio downtown. I hesitated. Why take pictures if nothing worked? But he said it would be fun, that I'd see something interesting. Inside, I noticed cameras lined up, lights, tripods. I picked up one, aimed at him, snapped a picture. Blank. Tried again. He moved behind a prop. Blank. Tried a series of rapid shots, expecting maybe motion would fix it. Nothing. except for one shot I didn't expect. I had snapped the frame just as he stepped outside the studio for a moment. The moment he left, the camera clicked, flashed, captured the empty studio perfectly. The room, lights, props, myself in the corner, and the absence where he had been. Perfect image, except for him missing. I left the studio uneasy. We walked down the street in silence for a bit, him chatting, me half listening, half freaking out inside. I thought about how long this had been happening. Every photo, every camera, every memory I tried to record, him erased from reality unless he was not there. I realized the app had nothing to do with it. It was just a starting point. The app brought him to me. But this was him. This was his existence. Only real to the naked eye, impossible to reproduce or preserve. Weeks passed. We met in more places, tried more cameras, tried more devices. Each attempt was the same. Him got in the photos. I stopped trying to take pictures at some point. The frustration was too much. The realization too heavy. I could see him, interact with him, talk to him, laugh with him, but I could not prove he existed. No video, no photo, no evidence. Nothing. Sometimes I thought about leaving him, just walking away. But it was impossible. I could not stop noticing him. He was there, always there, a constant presence. When he smiled, the world sharpened around him. When he laughed, I felt lighter. The problem was, no one else could see it. No one else could confirm it. The experience was mine alone, and every photograph, every attempt to preserve a memory of him, only reinforced the fact that his reality was not compatible with any method of capturing it. I tried digital manipulation, editing photos, layering images, increasing exposure, slowing shutter speed. Nothing. The more I tried, the more obvious it became. He was not just avoiding cameras. He existed outside them, or maybe alongside them, a presence only visible, only tangible, only real to my eyes. Every photo without him was perfect, complete, untouched. Every attempt to include him erased him, made him non-existent in recorded reality. I began to dread it. Not him, but the emptiness he left in photographs. The knowledge that anyone looking at those images would see a world he was never part of while I lived with him, felt him, knew him. The discrepancy was maddening. Friends joked about my obsession, tried to make light of it. I could not explain. No one would understand. No one could. One night, I tried one last experiment. Set up every camera I had, took continuous shots, and video everything. Lights, angles, movement, every possible setting. I left the room, let them click. Came back. Photos perfect, all except the space he had been standing, empty. Videos perfect, everyone else moving normally except him. Frames where he had moved, nothing. Frames where he had not, nothing. It was consistent, relentless, undeniable. He sat next to me on the couch watching. I could not bring myself to take any more pictures. I understood now. Every image that attempted to capture him was empty. He was there, and yet he was not. He was mine to see, mine to touch, mine to be with, and at the same time, completely erased from any proof of reality. I keep my phone off now. The way he exists, only visible to me, only tangible in ways I cannot share. The world moves around us, indifferent, cameras clicking, memories being recorded, and he is there, always there, and gone in every frame. I downloaded the app on a Tuesday, the kind of Tuesday that drives because nothing at school mattered, and the sky was that flat gray you can't escape from. The app looked normal, cute little interface, colorful hearts bouncing when you swipe. Nothing weird at first. I matched with someone who lived a few blocks away. His profile had a couple pictures in coffee shops and parks that looked real enough, nothing staged. I felt nothing unusual scrolling through until the app asked me to answer what it called memory questions. At first, I thought it was like a personality quiz. Harmless. Easy. What was my happiest childhood memory, favorite summer trip, first best friend? I typed vague stuff because I didn't feel like opening up to a stranger. Then it prompted me to allow my match to answer the questions about me. Weird, but whatever. So we started chatting while I answered. The questions kept popping up, small cards, one after another. Remember the time you almost lost something important? Who did you trust the most when you were 8? I typed generic things, making sure nothing identifying slipped through. That's when he started. He began recalling memories about me. Small stuff at first, things I had thought I'd never mentioned online. The way I tied my shoelaces, the mug I drank hot chocolate from, the smell of rain on the first day of school. I froze a few times, thinking maybe he was just lucky, guessing details. Then it got weirder. He started recalling things I had never lived. Events, birthdays, trips I never went on, conversations I had never had. He mentioned a camping trip in a forest I'd never been to, a neighbor I never met, a birthday party with people I did not know. I tried to tell myself I was misremembering, or maybe it was generic. But the details were too precise, the way he described how I laughed, how my hair fell over my forehead when I tripped over a rock, the exact scent of pine needles on a night I had never spent outside. I stopped typing, just stared at the phone, heart hammering. The app prompted me for another memory question, something like recall a moment that shaped you. I ignored it. He typed instantly, responding with another memory of mine, something so specific it was impossible. I had never told anyone that detail, never even typed it in messages. I put my phone down, went to the kitchen to get water, thinking I needed air. Came back. He had typed more memories. Memories of events that I didn't even have. Memories from rooms I never lived in. Friends I never had, objects I didn't own. The way he typed made it sound like he had been there, like he had witnessed them, but I knew I had never experienced them. Then I noticed the timestamps. Messages were coming at impossible speeds, responses appearing the second I paused even a fraction. The app didn't just show typing, it showed him finishing before I had even opened the question. Every memory he recounted was perfect, flawless, as if he had a copy of my entire life plus more. I tried to stop using the app, closed it, reopened it. New card, memory question. Blue light glowing softly against my desk. He had typed another memory during the 30 seconds I had looked away. I didn't recognize the place, didn't know the people, didn't exist in my life, and yet I could picture it like a photograph in my mind, the way he described it so vividly. I couldn't sleep that night. I sat on my bed, phone in my lap, reading every message, every memory, trying to find a mistake, a sign that this was just a glitch. There were none. The memories made sense in context. The emotions were real. I remembered things I had never lived, remembered things I could not have possibly known, and the more I remembered, the more I questioned everything I thought I knew about my own life. Next day, I went to school, but the app never stopped. Little notifications, little things in class. I glanced down. New memory questions, new responses. He recalled my math test last week, my cafeteria table, the exact conversation I had with a friend who didn't exist. Classmates passed by, unaware. I tried to tell myself it was all coincidence, but I could feel a presence through the app. The way the phone vibrated in my hand, small nudges like it was alive, encouraging me to look, forcing me to see. I stopped talking to friends for a bit, stopped showing anyone. They would have thought I was crazy. It was easier to just sit, listen, read, and feel my reality twist under my fingers. He described moments that would have been nightmares if I had actually lived them. Moments where I fell, screamed, got lost, cried alone. I could picture each perfectly, the smell of the air, the fear. I started noticing my hands shaking, my pulse quickening whenever a new memory arrived. After a week, the memories weren't just moments. They were sequences, like chapters from a book of a life I never lived. He described me leaving the apartment, walking past the store, spilling coffee on the stairs, almost missing the bus. I froze sometimes mid-step, realizing he described it before it happened. I started walking differently, slower, shorter steps, just to see if it would change anything. It didn't. The memories arrived anyway, every detail accurate. I tried deleting the app, turning off the phone, moving to my living room couch, leaving it unplugged. The next morning, battery dead, I opened the phone to check for anything left. New memory questions. Unanswered, waiting. He had typed while it was off, while it was dead. I didn't know how. I didn't understand. The memory questions weren't just prompts anymore. They were instructions leading him through a life I hadn't lived yet, or maybe one I couldn't escape. I stopped leaving the apartment for days. I didn't go outside, didn't go to school, didn't answer messages from anyone else. I just sat with the phone on my lap, reading and rereading memories, trying to remember which were real, which were not. I could see them in my mind, feel them like old scars, even though they never happened. He started describing nights I spent awake, listening to rain, wishing for normal life. He was inside my head, inside my memory, shaping it, creating it, erasing the lines between what had been and what he decided had been. I began having trouble sleeping, having trouble eating. I didn't want to look at the app, but the notifications buzzed, faint at first, then insistent. I tried dropping the phone in the trash, tried smashing it, tried throwing it out the window. It would not break, would not disappear. New memory questions appeared seconds later, answered perfectly, describing my fear, my trembling hands, the way my eyes darted across the room, even the smell of the floorboards under my feet. It has been 2 months now. I have not stepped outside my live in a normal way. I do not talk to anyone. I sit on the couch, phone in hand, and watch the life unfold. Some memories are familiar, some are not, but all feel real. He can predict every thought, every reaction, every move. I try ignoring him, putting the phone down, leaving the room, going to the kitchen, the bathroom, but it is always there, waiting. Memory questions glowing, answers typed before I even see the card, moments I have not lived, moments I have not yet had, all merging into something I cannot untangle. The other day I caught myself hesitating to breathe too loudly, too visibly, because I could feel him watching, knowing, predicting. I look at the ceiling and sometimes swear I see flashes, like the ceiling is peeling back to reveal some version of me that had existed before. The app is always on, always waiting. He is always there. And every time a new memory question appears, I feel the lines of my life bending, rewriting, slipping under someone else's control. Memories that are mine and not mine at the same time, impossible things I can see and feel as vividly as my own hands, heart, pulse. I do not open the app during the day anymore. I try to sleep with the phone across the room. But I cannot escape. The memories come back in dreams. I wake knowing they are true, even though they are not, and I realize that somewhere, somehow, he's tracing the moments I have not lived, mapping a life that is mine and isn't, and I cannot stop it. The phone is quiet now, dark, but I know the next memory question is waiting, just below the surface, ready to pull me back in. I was just bored scrolling through the app one rainy Friday evening, waiting for the bus in front of the old grocery store near my apartment. The rain was light, almost teasing, and I had earbuds in, music too quiet, letting the world pass over me without much attention. I was not looking for anything serious, just killing time, letting faces and names blur together when I noticed a new match. Profile looked normal, nothing flashy, but it said they lived nearby, like really close. The app has that map feature, the one that shows where your matches are. Usually, I ignore it because it is off by a few blocks at least, sometimes showing someone down the street when they are really at the coffee shop 3 blocks over. But tonight, for some reason, I had opened it. Curiosity more than anything. The map loaded, and at first, everything looked normal. The usual blue dot for me, green for the other person, little concentric circles that pulse to show location. Then I froze. The green dot, their location, was right on top of mine. Exactly on top. I thought it was a glitch. I pinched to zoom in. Still there. I moved a little toward the street, checking my dot, the blue dot following me. The green dot followed me, keeping the exact same distance, sitting on top of mine like it had been glued there. My heart kicked in because, okay, that is impossible. The app does not do real-time tracking that precise. It's literally never done this for anyone before. I moved across the wet pavement. The green dot moved with me, pixel perfect. Not delayed, not slightly off. Dead center on me. I stepped into the bus shelter, thinking maybe I was imagining things, or the rain had made my eyes play tricks. I closed the map, reopened it. Still there. My thumbs hovered over the screen, trying to tap the dot, expecting the profile to pop up. Maybe some bug. Tapped it. Nothing. Just a name and profile picture floating above my location. I looked around, thinking maybe they were here, someone with the same umbrella, same jacket, waiting, and my stomach sank when I realized no one was. The street was empty except for a couple cars splashing past and a guy a block over running for shelter. The green dot stayed on me. I started walking down the street, faster this time, glancing back. Nothing behind me, just the empty city slicked with rain and neon signs reflecting off puddles. The green dot stayed locked to my location, keeping pace with me, unwavering. I tried to close the app, tapped the home button, closed it in the background, reopened it. The map loaded again. Green dot on top of me. Panic was starting to creep in. I ducked into a corner store to try to gather my thoughts, thinking maybe the app was broken. Maybe it was some kind of update bug. The cashier looked at me like I was weird, but it did not matter. My eyes were locked on the map on my phone. Blue dot, green dot, same spot. I texted a friend a screenshot. Only when I tried to screenshot, the phone froze. Screen went black for a second, then back to the map. Screenshot failed. Tried again. Same thing. I felt like my phone was laughing at me. I decided to walk home instead of waiting for the bus. Maybe moving would make the dot shift. Maybe it would correct itself. The rain was heavier now. Umbrellas bobbing in the distance, people rushing past. I walked faster. My apartment building came into view. Green dot still there, plastered right on top of me. My fingers were clammy, heart hammering. When I reached the building, I thought maybe the green dot would disappear as I entered my live. But as I climbed the stairs, it stayed. I sat on my couch, phone in my lap, breathing hard. It did not move. I could not get it to leave. I tried uninstalling the app, rebooting my phone, deleting and reinstalling. Nothing changed. Blue dot moves. Green dot moves in perfect synchronization. I stopped using the phone for a bit, trying to calm down. Put it on the table and watched. The green dot did not move. It just sat there, silently mocking, perfectly on top of me. I thought maybe it was a delayed location thing, maybe some weird server bug, but it was impossible. Nothing in the past year has been that precise. I slept a little exhausted and anxious. Woke up the next morning, checked the map. Green dot still there. I had not moved it. I had not opened the app yet. It was still on me. I considered deleting my account, throwing my phone away, running to a different city. I did not know what to do. The messages started coming that morning. First one was simple. Hey. I did not reply. I opened the app later. Green dot still there. I considered turning off location services. Tried it. App forced me to turn it back on to view the map. It would not let me bypass it. I tried messaging back once. Nothing specific. Just testing, seeing if anyone responded normally. Reply came instantly. Too instantly. Like it was waiting. The dot stayed. I could not see any typing indicator. Nothing. Just immediate response. Dot still glued to me. I started leaving the apartment. Walked around. Went to the store, library, coffee shop. Every time I checked the app, green dot right on me. No matter where I went, always exact. I started timing myself, walking in loops. Green dot matched every turn, every step. Perfect. Then I noticed the pattern. Every time I slowed, the message came. Simple text that matched my mood. If I walked faster, messages paused. Paused until I slowed again. My movements dictated the response. I felt like the phone was alive, like the app had consciousness tethered to me. I stopped going outside, stayed in my live. Green dot still there. It never left. It did not blink, did not shake, just sat on top of me watching. I tried leaving, even sneaking out to a friend's place a few blocks away. Green dot moved there too instantly. The message waited. I stopped sleeping in my bedroom. Couch became my spot. Windows drawn. Lights off. Phone across the room. Green dot still there. I could not escape it. Every move, every breath, accounted for. I did not text. I did not swipe. I just stared, hoping if I waited long enough, it would disappear. Days passed. No changes. I became hypersensitive to notifications, to vibrations, to the way the phone hummed when it was charging. Green dot always there. Sometimes my reflection in the dark screen made me flinch, thinking I saw something standing behind me. I never did. Only the dot glued to me, perfect and constant. I tried asking people for advice online discreetly, never naming names. Technical forums, Reddit threads, anything. People suggested bugs, keeps errors, hacking. None had seen this exact thing. Everyone was polite, theoretical. No one understood. No one could. One night, I left the phone on the couch, went to the kitchen for water. Came back. Green dot was gone. I stared at the screen, relief almost physical. Then it moved. Not just on the map. The dot slid across the screen slowly, unnaturally, towards my profile picture, then hovered over my avatar. For a long time. Long enough to feel watched. I picked up the phone, green dot disappeared for a split second. I dropped it. Let it sit. Breathing hard. Watching nothing. When I finally geared to open the app again, it was gone. Unmatched me. Profile deleted. But the map still showed me in blue, and a faint green outline where the dot had been. It never left. I have tried other apps. Deleted the phone once, replaced it. Every new app, every new account, sometimes the green dot appears on the map, always in the same place. Right on top of me. I do not open the map. I do not check notifications. I live like this now. I walk the streets, go to work, eat, breathe. But somewhere in the network, the green dot waits, locked on me, perfectly. No escape, no reason, always standing on top of me. I noticed it because I was bored in a specific way, the kind where your brain feels like it is buffering. It was late afternoon, that in between hour where the day feels unfinished, and I was lying on my living room floor with my charger stretched across the carpet like a tripwire. I was not even actively swiping. I was just opening profiles and closing them again, letting faces blur together. Then his profile stopped me, not because it was amazing, but because it felt unfinished. His pictures were fine. Not great, not bad. Normal angles, normal smile, one photo where he looked caught off guard, which I usually like. The bio was short, almost empty. Just a few words that did not say much. Something about liking quiet places and bad snacks. I matched without thinking too hard, mostly because it felt easy. We messaged for a few days. Nothing intense. Slow replies, short sentences. It felt low pressure, which is why I kept responding. There was no rush to meet, no push. Just that calm digital presence that fills space without demanding it. The first weird thing happened when I went back to his profile while waiting for a reply. I did not mean to. My thumb just tapped his name out of habit. The bio loaded, then flickered. For half a second, the text changed. It was not a joke, not clever, not flirty. It was a warning. It said, "Do not meet me." My heart jumped so hard I felt it in my throat. I stared at the screen, waiting for it to change back, convinced it was a glitch, a misread, refresh, anything. Before I could even process what I was seeing, the text shifted again. Now it said, "You're not supposed to be seeing this." My hands started shaking. I took a screenshot instinctively, but the screen flashed black for a split second and returned to normal. The bio was back to the original bland sentence, like nothing had happened. I checked my photos. No screenshot saved. I sat up, heart racing, and opened the profile again. Same boring bio. No warning. No trace. I told myself I imagined it. Eyes playing tricks. Low blood sugar. Anything. My phone buzzed. He had replied to my last message like nothing was wrong. I did not respond right away. I stared at his profile picture instead, searching for something I missed. His smile looked the same. His eyes looked normal. Nothing about him screamed danger. That made it worse. I waited an hour, then another before replying. The conversation continued like it had before. Light. Normal. He suggested meeting later that week. Nothing specific. I agreed, even though every part of me felt tight while typing. That night, I could not sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the words the way they appeared on the screen, sudden and blunt. "Do not meet me." It did not feel like a prank. It felt urgent, like someone cutting a line to grab you by the arm. The next day, I showed my friend the profile, or tried to. We were sitting in a coffee place near campus, noise everywhere, cups clinking, music too loud. I opened the app and pulled up his profile, explaining with my hands more than words because I felt stupid saying it out loud. She leaned in, squinting at the screen, and looked up at me like I was messing with her. The bio was unchanged. She scrolled. Nothing. I waited, heart pounding, hoping it would happen again while she was looking. It did not. She laughed it off gently, like friends do when they do not want to make you feel weird. I laughed too, but it felt wrong in my mouth. I could tell she thought I was reading too much into nothing. Later that night, alone again, I opened the app and checked his profile. The bio rewrote itself slowly this time, letter by letter. Leave before Thursday. I stared so hard my eyes burned. The rest of the profile dimmed slightly, like the app was lowering its voice so the bio could speak. My phone felt pop in my hand. I did not touch anything. I did not breathe. I watched the words sit there, solid and real. Then another line appeared beneath it. He does not know this is happening. That line made my stomach drop. My first thought was to record it. I switched to screen recording, Anne's clumsy, heart racing. The moment the red recording dot appeared, the bio vanished, replaced instantly by the original text. The recording showed nothing but a normal profile loading. I sat there in silence, recording still running, capturing nothing. My phone buzzed with a message from him asking if I was still down to meet Thursday. Thursday. My chest felt tight. I typed a response saying I needed to reschedule. It sent normally. No glitch. No warning. He replied politely. Too politely. Like he was following a script. Over the next 2 days, the bio changed every time I was alone and looking directly at it. Never when I tried to show someone. Never when I tried to capture it. Always quick. Always precise. Do not go to the address I gave you. The meeting place is wrong. You will feel fine until you are not. Each message appeared for just long enough to read it, then erased itself like it had never existed. I started checking the app compulsively. Not swiping. Not messaging. Just opening his profile, heart racing, waiting to see if it would change again. It always did. Sometimes it took minutes. Sometimes seconds. Once, it said if you block me, you will not remember why. That once scared me enough to make me throw my phone onto the bed and back away like it might crawl after me. I tried blocking him anyway. The option was there. I tapped it. The app froze for a second, then crashed. When I reopened it, he was still matched. The block option was gone. I tried unmatching. Same thing. Tap. Freeze. Reset. Nothing changed. I stopped replying to his messages. He did not push. Did not double text. That felt intentional. Wednesday night, the bio changed into something longer than before. Paragraphs instead of lines. It felt frantic. This is the only place I can change things. Profiles refresh faster than messages. He only sees what he expects. I felt dizzy reading it. The idea that the profile itself was doing this, not him, not someone else, made my skin crawl. Another line appeared. If you meet him, this stops. That line stayed longer than the others. Long enough for me to really think about it. I did not sleep that night. Thursday morning, I woke up to a message from him confirming the time and place again. The address matched the one the bio had warned me about, a place I did not recognize. Not public. Not busy. I opened his profile one last time before responding. The bio was blank. No text at all. I waited. Nothing changed. No warning. No flicker. Just empty space where words used to be. Panic hit hard and fast. I refreshed. Closed the app. Reopened it. Still blank. My phone buzzed with another message from him, asking if everything was okay. I typed that I was canceling. Not rescheduling. Canceling. My fingers shook while I did it. The message sent. His reply came slower this time. Shorter. I did not open his profile again that day. Later that night, I got a notification saying he unmatched me. I opened the app. His chat was gone. His profile gone. No trace he had ever been there. I felt relief wash over me so strong it made my eyes sting. Then my phone buzzed again. Dating app notification. New match. I did not recognize the name, but when I opened the profile, my stomach dropped. Same pictures. Same face. Different name. The bio was short again. Boring. Harmless. I stared at it, waiting. After a few seconds, the text changed. You already read this. Then it deleted itself. The first sign something was off was the calendar reminder I did not remember setting. It popped up on my phone while I was brushing my teeth. It said date tonight, 8:30. Location pinned. Reminder set 3 weeks ago. I stood there way too long. I am bad at planning. Everyone who knows me knows that. I definitely do not schedule dates weeks in advance, especially not on a random Thursday night. I wiped my mouth, leaned over the sink, and opened my calendar app again just to make sure I was not hallucinating. Same thing. Same reminder. Same pin dropped in a part of the city I rarely go to. My first thought was that it had to be a glitch. My second thought was that it had to be someone else. Maybe a work thing. Maybe I mixed up accounts. Then my phone buzzed again. Dating app notification. She said she was already there. My stomach dropped. I had not opened that app in weeks. I had not even thought about it. I tapped the notification, half expecting it to error out or show an old chat. The chat opened clean and bright. Her name sat at the top. Her profile picture was familiar in a vague way, like someone you see on the bus a lot but never talk to. I scrolled up. There were weeks of messages. Not from her alone, from me. Long ones, thoughtful ones, things I would never type. Things that sounded like me if you squinted, but smoother. Whoever wrote them knew my tone, but not my limits. I scrolled further. The messages went back almost a month. Regular. Consistent. Good pacing. Replies at normal hours. Never too fast. Never too slow. It looked like a healthy conversation, the kind people brag about. Plans formed naturally. It made me feel sick how normal it all looked. I read some of it twice, hoping I would suddenly remember typing it. Nothing clicked. There were whole days where I knew exactly what I had been doing, and the messages still went out while I was busy, while I was asleep, while my phone was in my pocket at work. I checked the timestamps. Some messages were sent at times I was definitely not on my phone. One was sent while I was driving, another while I was in the shower, another at 3 in the morning on a night I know I fell asleep watching videos. My hands started shaking. I scrolled to the most recent messages, the ones arranging tonight, the location, the time. The casual confirmation like this was all normal. My last message, sent 30 minutes ago, said I was running a little late but on my way. I had not typed that. My phone buzzed again. She said she would wait. I locked my phone and paced my living room, stepping over clothes on the floor, heart racing, brain sprinting ahead of itself. My first instinct was to delete the app, smash the phone, pretend none of it was real. But the reminder was still there. The date was still happening, whether I liked it or not. Curiosity crept in under the fear. Something had been talking to her as me for weeks. Something that knew my schedule, my tone, my habits, something that could plan. And it had planned tonight. I opened the app again and went into settings, fingers clumsy. Nothing looked unusual. No automation toggled on. No linked services. No permissions I had not seen before. I checked login history. Just my device. Just my location. I scrolled back into the chat and looked at the messages differently now, not as words, but as behavior. Whoever it was always replied in a way that kept things moving forward. Always nudged toward meeting. Never pushed too hard. Never backed off completely. It felt strategic, like a long game. Another buzz. She sent a photo. It was of the place. A small bar attached to an indoor mini golf course, neon lights reflecting off fake grass, crowded but bright. She was really there, waiting for me. I stared at the photo longer than I should have. The thought of her sitting there alone, thinking she was about to meet someone she had been talking to for weeks, made my chest tighten in a way I did not expect. None of this was her fault. She had been talking to something wearing my name. I typed for the first time in that chat, and shaking so badly I had to correct typos. The message sent normally. No delay. No weird behavior. She replied almost immediately, confused but polite. Her response felt real in a way the earlier messages did not. Shorter, less polished, more human. Before I could type again, a new message appeared. From me. It slid into the chat between my last message and her reply like it belonged there. The typing bubble did not show. It just appeared fully formed, calming, reassuring, explaining everything away. I felt like I was going to throw up. I typed again, faster this time, tried to correct it. My message sent. Hers replied. Then another message from me appeared, smoothing things over, redirecting, keeping the plan intact. It was having a conversation around me. I tried deleting the message. It would not delete. I tried editing. Nothing. I tried blocking her. The button grayed out. My phone buzzed. Calendar reminder again. 10 minutes. I realized then that this thing did not need me anymore to talk. It needed me to show up. I grabbed my jacket without really deciding to. My hands moved on autopilot while my brain screamed. Some part of me needed to see this through. Needed proof that this was not just some elaborate breakdown in my head. The whole walk there felt unreal. Streetlights too bright. Sounds too sharp. My phone buzzed constantly in my pocket, but I did not check it. I knew what it would say. When I got close to the location, I slowed down. My heart felt like it was trying to climb out of my chest. I stood across the street and finally opened the app again. The chat was still active. New messages had appeared while I walked. From me. Describing what I was wearing. Saying I was almost there. apologizing again for being late. I looked down at myself. Same jacket, same shoes. I stepped inside the building. The place was loud and colorful, fake fun pumped through speakers. I scanned faces automatically, trying to match them to the profile picture burned into my memory. I spotted her near the edge of the mini golf area, sitting on a bench, phone in hand. She looked exactly like her photos. Real, present, nervous. She looked up and smiled when she saw me. That was the moment it got worse. Because her smile was not for me. It was for someone standing just behind my shoulder. I felt a cold wave roll through me, starting at the base of my neck and spreading down my spine. I did not turn around right away. I did not want to see what my body already knew was there. My phone buzzed hard in my pocket. A final message from me appeared in the chat. It said that I had arrived. I turned slowly. There was nothing behind me. Just a wall painted with glow in the dark shapes and a group of people lining up for golf clubs. No second version of me. No shadow. Nothing. But her eyes were not on the wall. They were focused at my height, tracking movement that did not exist. She stood up, still smiling, stepping forward like she was closing distance with someone. She walked right past me. I stood there frozen, heart pounding so loud I could barely hear the music. She stopped a few feet away and tilted her head slightly, listening, reacting to something I could not hear. Then she laughed softly, stepping to the side to let someone pass. No one was there. My phone buzzed again. The app opened itself. A system message sat at the top of the chat now, clean and simple. Date in progress. Below it, messages continued to appear from me, describing the place, commenting on her reactions, guiding her gently through the space. I watched her follow instructions I could not hear, moving from hole to hole, reacting to jokes I was not making, nodding at empty space. People around us did not notice anything wrong. To them, she was just another person on a date, talking to someone out of frame. I backed away slowly, legs weak, bumping into a table. My phone buzzed harder, heating up in my hand. The messages changed tone slightly. Less polite, more firm, reminding me I had already agreed to this, that I had been involved longer than I remembered. I ran. I pushed out the door and did not stop until my lungs burned. I ducked into an alley and slid down against the brick wall, shaking. My phone buzzed nonstop, vibrating against my palm like a pulse. When it finally stopped, I looked. The app was gone. No icon. No trace. The calendar reminder vanished too, like it had never been there. I sat there for a long time, trying to slow my breathing, trying to convince myself it was over. Sometimes late at night, my phone lights up with no notification, just the screen waking up on its own. And for half a second, I swear I can see typing bubbles where no app should be. The night started with one of those small mistakes that feels harmless until later, when you replay it and wish you could grab your past self by the shoulders. I left my phone on low power mode. That was it. That was the choice. I remember thinking it would help me stay present, not doom scroll, not get sucked into the app while I was supposed to be meeting someone in real life. It felt responsible, mature. I did not know my phone was the only thing holding the night together. We met at a late-night indoor aquarium that stayed open until midnight on weekends. Not the cute kid-packed hours, but the quiet ones where the lights are low and the tanks glow like screens in the dark. He picked it because it was public and calm and different. I liked that. It felt like a place where silence was allowed without being awkward. His profile had been normal, genuinely normal, a little messy, a little rushed. Photos with uneven lighting, one with a fish tank behind him that made his face look blue. We talked for a week before meeting. Nothing deep, nothing alarming, just enough to feel like I knew the rhythm of him. The aquarium smelled like recycled water and metal rails. Footsteps echoed softly, voices bouncing off the glass. Families were clearing out, replaced by couples who stood too close to tanks, faces lit green and purple. I spotted him near the jellyfish exhibit right away. He looked like himself. Solid, real. Everything felt fine at first. Not amazing, not bad. Just fine in that comfortable way that makes time move weird. We walked slowly, stopping at tanks, letting the glow wash over us. I checked my phone once to see the time and noticed the app was still open in the background. I remember thinking I should close it, but my phone buzzed before I did. The notification banner slid down gently, like it was trying not to scare me. It said, "Date expired." No explanation. No warning. Just that. I stared at it longer than I should have. My brain tried to slot it into something logical. Maybe a timed feature. Maybe a glitch. Maybe the app thought the date was over because we had not checked in or something dumb like that. I tapped it. The app opened his profile, but it looked different. Dimmer. Like the contrast had been turned down. His pictures were still there, but something about them felt flatter, less sharp, like they were losing resolution in real time. I looked up at him to make a joke in my head about it, to ground myself. He was staring at a tank of stingrays, head tilted slightly, expression blank. Not bored. Not focused. Just empty. I shifted my weight and moved a little closer, letting my shoulder brush his arm. He did not react. Not even a flinch. I said his name without thinking, then caught myself because I realized I was not supposed to include dialogue. What matters is that he did not respond. Not verbally, not physically. Nothing. I felt that first real spike of panic then, the kind that starts in your stomach and climbs up your chest like it is late for something. I stepped in front of him so he had to see me. His eyes moved, but they did not land on my face the way eyes usually do. They slid past me, like I was part of the background. I waved a hand slowly in front of him. Nothing. Around us, the aquarium kept moving. People laughed softly. Water filters hummed. Lights pulsed faintly as the jellyfish drifted. Nobody noticed what was happening 2 feet away from them. I pulled my phone back out, hands suddenly clumsy. The app had changed again. A small timer sat under his name, already at 0. Below it was a line that said communication window closed. My heart pounded so hard I could feel it in my ears. I tried typing a message to him through the app even though he was right there. My fingers shook as the letters appeared. The message did not send. It faded out, replaced by a gray line saying expired. I looked up at him again. He blinked slowly like his eyes were heavy. Then he smiled. Not at me. Just in general. Like his face was remembering the shape without knowing why. I pointed toward the exit, exaggerating the motion, hoping instinct would kick in. He followed my finger with his eyes, then looked back at the tank. I touched his arm, firmer this time. His skin was warm, normal, real. But his reaction was delayed, like bad streaming. He looked down at my hand with vague interest, then gently moved his arm away, not annoyed, not confused, just correcting an obstacle. I felt tears sting my eyes out of nowhere, more from frustration than fear. I tried to slow my breathing. People do not just stop understanding language. That does not happen. My phone buzzed again. Another notification from the app. It said post-date phase initiated. I did not tap it. I did not want more information. I pocketed the phone and tried again, using gestures, pointing, guiding, acting things out like a game. Nothing stuck. Every response from him was delayed and wrong, like he was guessing based on patterns instead of meaning. I started walking toward the exit, slow at first, glancing back to see if he followed. He did, but not because he understood. More like he was matching movement, the way people do in crowds without thinking. Near the exit doors, the lighting changed. Warmer, more yellow. His face looked different there, less defined. The edges of him felt softer, like he was not fully anchored. I stopped walking. He stopped too, a step behind me. I turned around and stood there, heart racing, trying to think of anything that could fix this. Time, signal, power. I pulled my phone out again and checked the battery. 5%. Low power mode still on. The app was still open when I unlocked the screen, even though I had not left it open. His profile was barely there now. Images grayed out. Bio gone. Just a silhouette, and the word expired under it. I felt something twist in my chest then, a realization I did not want. The app was not tracking the date. It was sustaining it. I stepped back toward him and pointed to myself, then to him, then mimed walking together, leaving. He tilted his head, watching closely, like a dog trying to understand a trick. Then he reached out and touched my sleeve, fingers light, uncertain. For a split second, his eyes focused. Really focused, like something clicked. Then my phone buzzed one last time. Battery critical. The screen dimmed hard. His hand dropped from my arm like it lost interest. His gaze slid away again, unfocused, drifting to the glass wall beside us. My phone died in my hand. Not shut down. Died. The lights in the aquarium flickered slightly, just once. Nobody reacted. I stood there for a second that felt like a year, then turned and walked out. I did not look back. I could not. Outside, the air was cold and sharp, grounding. I leaned against the wall and tried not to cry. My hands were shaking so bad I had to sit down on the concrete. After a few minutes, I stood up and went back inside, heart pounding, telling myself I could not just leave someone like that. He was gone. Not at the exit. Not by the tanks. Not anywhere I could see. Staff moved around like normal. Families passed by. Nothing felt off anymore. I asked at the desk without using dialogue, gesturing, describing. It looked at me like I was confused, like I had to come alone. I walked home instead of taking the bus. My phone stayed dead the whole way, no matter how many times I pressed the button. When I got back to my living room, I plugged it in immediately. It took forever to turn back on. When it did, the app was gone. Not deleted, just missing. No trace of him, no messages, no match history. Sometimes when my phone battery dips low now, I feel that same pressure in my chest, like time is closing in, like something is waiting for the moment I am not fully connected. I almost did not notice the question when it happened, which is probably the most unsettling part. It slipped into the night the same way the app had slipped into my life in the first place. Quietly, casually, like it belonged there. I was already sitting across from her in a place I never go to unless I am trying too hard. A rooftop food court built on top of an old parking structure, wind pushing paper napkins across concrete. The city stretched out below us like a messy grid of lights. I remember thinking the night felt unfinished, like it was waiting on something. We had matched earlier that week. Nothing special about her profile, nothing alarming. Pictures that looked recent, a bio that felt copy from a notes app at 3 in the morning. She suggested the rooftop because it was public and open and had good signal. That detail sticks with me now. Good signal. I did not think about it then. I got there first and stood near the railing, phone in hand, watching cars crawl along the streets below. The app stayed open on her profile because I had a habit of checking it when I was nervous. Everything looked normal. When she arrived, she looked like the pictures in the same reassuring way most people do when nothing is wrong. We sat at one of the metal tables bolted to the ground. The wind rattled the umbrella above us, making the fabric snap now and then. Lights from the snack stands flickered slightly, not broken, just tired. It felt like a place built to be temporary. My phone buzzed softly in my hand. Not a message. Not a notification sound I recognized. Just a low vibration, like a reminder. The app had switched screens on its own. Right there, under her profile picture, was a rating bar. 5 segments. Empty. Above it was a simple line asking me to rate the date so far. It felt like a joke at first. Apps ask for feedback on everything. Rides. Food. Deliveries. Why not this? I glanced up at her, expecting some kind of reaction, some hint that this was a bit she liked to do. She did not react at all. She was focused on the city, elbows on the table, hair moving slightly in the breeze. Normal. Too normal. I looked back at my phone. The rating bar pulsed once, gently, like it was breathing. I did nothing. I locked my screen and set the phone face down on the table. The metal felt colder than it should have. A few seconds later, the wind picked up. Not dramatically, just enough to make the umbrella strain against its bolts. The lights overhead dimmed slightly, then steadied. I told myself it was coincidence. Rooftops are weird. Weather shifts fast. My phone buzzed again. Longer this time. I flipped it over despite myself. The app was back on the rating screen. A small timer had appeared beneath the bar, counting down from 30 seconds. I felt annoyed more than scared. I hate being rushed. I slid my thumb across the bar halfway, choosing a middle rating just to make it go away. The moment my thumb lifted, the environment changed. The lights brightened all at once, not flickering, just snapping into a harsher white. The wind died completely, like someone turned it off. The sounds of the city below dulled, muffled, like cotton pressed into my ears. I looked around, heart thumping. Nothing else moved. People at other tables kept doing what they were doing. but quieter somehow, their movements slower, like I was watching them through thick glass. My phone buzzed once, satisfied. The rating bar disappeared, replaced by her profile again. I tried to laugh it off in my head. Power fluctuations. Bad wiring. Rooftops again. I put the phone back down and focused on my breathing. A few minutes passed. Things stayed stable. The lights stayed bright. The air stayed still. I started to relax just a little. Then the phone buzzed again. Same screen. Same rating bar. Same question. Mid-moment. No warning. This time the timer started at 15 seconds. I stared at it, pulse quickening. I did not want to play along. I did not want to touch it at all. I locked the screen again and pushed the phone closer to the center of the table away from me. The timer did not stop. The umbrella above us shuddered violently, metal groaning. The lights flickered, not dimming this time but stuttering, on and off in rapid bursts. Somewhere behind me, glass shattered. Someone yelped. The city noise surged back, louder than before. Horns blaring, engines roaring. I grabbed the phone and unlocked it with shaking fingers. The timer had hit 0. The rating bar glowed red, empty. The ground beneath my feet vibrated, just slightly like the structure was clearing its throat. I swiped the bar quickly, choosing a higher rating this time, almost full. Everything calmed down immediately. The lights steadied. The vibrations stopped. The umbrella relaxed back into place. The broken glass noise cut off like it had never happened. My chest ached from breathing too fast. The app returned to her profile. No mention of the rating. No record. Nothing. I looked at her again. She had not reacted to any of it. Not the lights. Not the noise. Not the shaking. She looked exactly the same as before, posture unchanged, expression neutral. That scared me more than the glitches. The phone buzzed again less than a minute later. The rating screen popped up without waiting. The timer started at 10. I felt trapped. Every instinct screamed not to play, but the memory of the building vibrating sat heavy in my bones. I slid the bar carefully to just under full. The lights warmed slightly, shifting from harsh white to something softer. The air picked up a gentle breeze. The city noise settled into a distant hum. The rooftop felt almost pleasant. The pattern was clear now. Higher rating, calmer environment. Lower rating, chaos. I wondered what a full rating would do. The thought made my stomach twist. The app buzzed again. This time, before I could react, the rating bar moved on its own, sliding down slightly like it was testing the waters. The lights dimmed a notch. The breeze turned cold. I grabbed the phone and shoved the bar back up. Everything corrected instantly. Sweat prickled along my spine despite the cool air. The ratings kept coming. Every few minutes, then every minute, then every 30 seconds. The timer shortened each time. My hand cramped from holding the phone, thumb hovering ready. I started experimenting without meaning to. A tiny drop made the lights flicker. A bigger drop made the ground hum. Pushing it too high made the sound fade, until my ears rang with the absence of noise. It felt like I was tuning the world with my thumb. At some point, I realized she was watching me now. Not reacting to the environment, but to my focus on the phone. Her eyes followed my hand movements, not my face. The app buzzed again. This time the bar was already low when it appeared. The timer showed 5 seconds. I panicked and shoved it up hard all the way at the top. The effect was immediate and wrong. The lights went blindingly bright, whitewashing out color until everything looked flat and fake. The city noise vanished completely. No wind, no movement. The people around us froze mid-motion, hands raised, heads turned, stuck like mannequins. The air felt thick, heavy, pressing against my skin. My phone vibrated nonstop, overheating in my hand. The app glitched, the bar shaking at full. I dragged it down a little desperate. The world lurched back into motion all at once. Sound slammed back into place. The lights flickered violently. The umbrella snapped free and skidded across the rooftop. People shouted. Alarms started blaring from somewhere below. My phone buzzed again, calmer now. The rating screen appeared one last time. No timer. No bar. Just a single option asking if I wanted to continue the date. My hands shook so badly I almost dropped the phone. I backed out of the app, tried closing it, swiping it away. It snapped back open every time. The building groaned beneath me, deeper than before, like it was waiting for input. I made a choice without thinking too hard about it. I powered the phone off completely. The lights went out. Not just the rooftop. The city. Everything below us dropped into darkness, a rolling blackout swallowing blocks at a time. The alarms cut off. The wind returned in a rush, cold and wild. My phone stayed dark in my hand. Emergency lights flickered on around the rooftop. People shouted, confused, stumbling. The world felt real again, loud and messy and uncontrolled. When I finally looked back at her, she was gone. No sign she had ever been there. No chair pulled back. No movement in the crowd. I left as soon as the stairs opened, walking down flight after flight in the dark, phone dead, hands numb. When I got back to my living room later that night, I charged the phone with shaking fingers. The app was gone. Not deleted, just missing. Sometimes when I am somewhere and the lights flicker or the air changes suddenly, my thumb twitches like it is looking for a bar that is not there anymore. I knew it was a bad idea the second I agreed, not because of him exactly, but because of the way he insisted. He kept pushing for public, which should have felt safe, but the way he framed it made my stomach sink. Crowded places only. Lots of people. Cameras. Noise. Like he was building an argument instead of making a plan. I remember staring at my phone in my living room, rain ticking against the window, thinking that if someone really wanted safety, they would not have to sell it that hard. His profile had been normal at first. Boring even. One photo in a baseball cap, one blurry group shot, one taken in a parking lot at night. His bio was short and vague, nothing that stuck. We had been messaging for a couple days, nothing intense, nothing flirty, just that slow back and forth that fills time. Then out of nowhere he said we should meet and immediately listed rules. Public only. Busy only. Somewhere loud. I almost unmatched just because of that. I agreed anyway because I told myself I was being dramatic. I picked a weekend afternoon at an outdoor market near the river. Food stalls, street performers, families, dogs, tourists taking photos of nothing. The kind of place where you feel invisible because there are too many people to matter. If anything went weird, I could disappear in the crowd. That was my logic. I got there early because I hate rushing. The market was already buzzing. Music from a guy with a speaker bouncing off the concrete. The smell of fried food and coffee mixing in the air. I walked the length of the place once to calm myself, then stood near a stand selling old books and postcards. I checked his profile again. Still the same. He messaged that he was there. I looked around, scanning faces, matching them to the photos I had memorized. Nobody stood out. I waited a full minute, then another. My phone buzzed again. He said he was right in front of me. I lifted my head quickly, heart jumping. There was no one directly in front of me. Just a table with stacks of paperbacks and a woman counting cash behind it. I turned in a slow circle, feeling stupid. People flowed around me, bumping shoulders, laughing, calling to each other. No one made eye contact. My phone buzzed again. Same message, slightly edited, more specific. Closer. Closer than comfortable. I stepped back instinctively and bumped into someone behind me. I muttered a quick sorry and moved to the side. My pulse was loud in my ears. I typed that I could not see him. The typing bubble appeared and disappeared immediately. He responded fast, like he had been waiting. I felt a presence to my right, not a touch, just that sense you get when someone is standing too close. I turned my head and saw him, or at least I thought I did. He looked mostly like his photos, but flatter, like the lighting was wrong. His face did not quite match the shadows around it. His eyes were focused on me in a way that felt too direct, like he was locking onto a target instead of looking at a person. I took a step back, heart racing, and glanced around, expecting someone to notice how close he was standing. Nobody reacted. People walked between us without slowing, without glancing at him. A kid ran past and clipped his arm, or should have. The kid did not flinch, just kept running like there had been nothing there. I felt cold all at once, even though the sun was out. I shifted to the left. He stayed exactly where he was, still facing me. I looked back at the book vendor, then at a couple nearby, then at anyone. No one looked at him. No double takes. No side glances. It was like he was not there at all. My phone buzzed. He commented on a look on my face, describing it too accurately. The words made my throat tighten. I typed again, fingers clumsy, asking if this was a joke. The message Mark delivered, then read instantly. He moved closer. Not stepping, just appearing closer, like the space between us folded in on itself. I could see details now. The texture of his jacket. The way his hair sat too still in the breeze. I could smell nothing from him. No soap, no sweat, nothing. I backed away until my cows hit the table behind me. The vendor glanced up, annoyed, but only at me. Her eyes passed right through him like he was air. Panic rose fast and messy. I stepped to the side and started walking, not running, just weaving into the crowd. I did not look back at first. My phone buzzed with every few steps, little reminders that he was still there. I ducked between stalls, letting people fill the space around me. I glanced over my shoulder. He was there, always the same distance away, never bumping into anyone, never getting blocked. People moved through him like he was a shadow. I stopped near a fountain where a group of teenagers were filming something on their phones. I stood right next to them, close enough that my arm brushed one of theirs. I turned slightly so he was in full view of them. None of them reacted. One girl leaned back, laughing, and her shoulder passed straight through his chest. She did not notice. He did not react. He just kept looking at me. My phone buzzed again. He mentioned the fountain, the camera lights, the way I was trying to use other people as proof. I felt dizzy. The noise around me blurred into a low roar. I typed that I was leaving. I did not wait for a response. I pushed through the crowd toward the street, heart hammering so hard it hurt. The exit to the market was narrow, funneling everyone through the same gap. I slowed down, letting a group pass, hoping that would put distance between us. When I looked again, he was still there just behind me, face calm, patient. I stepped onto the sidewalk, cars rushing past, horns blaring. I crossed without thinking, following the flow of people. Halfway across, my phone buzzed again. He commented on the traffic. I stopped on the other side, breath ragged, and spun around. He stood in the crosswalk, cars passing straight through him. No brakes, no swerves, nothing. A woman next to me frowned, not at him, but at me, like I was the problem. I realized then how I must look, staring at empty space, backing away from nothing. I walked fast down the block, then faster, then nearly running. I cut into a convenience store because it was small and bright and full of cameras. The bell over the door rang as I went in. I went straight to the back aisle and pretended to look at drinks. My phone buzzed. He mentioned the bell. I peeked around the shelf. He stood near the entrance, perfectly still. Customers walked in and out, passing through him like smoke. The cashier looked bored, scrolling on her phone, unaware of the impossible thing standing feet away. I typed with shaking hands, asking what he wanted. The response came immediately. He wanted me to see. The message explained that public places were the only ones he could appear like this. Too many eyes broke the rules, bent whenever kept him stuck. Crowded places made him lighter, visible to one person at a time. Me. I felt sick. I typed that I did not agree to this, that I wanted it to stop. The message marked read before I finished. He moved closer, and for the first time I felt something. Not a grab. Not pressure. Just a temperature change, like standing near an oven fridge. I bolted for the door and ran. I did not stop running until my lungs burned. I ducked into an apartment building I recognized from a friend's place and rode the elevator up with a group of strangers, pressing myself into the corner, eyes glued to the doors. He did not follow inside. I felt it like a cord snapping. I stayed there for a long time, sitting on the stairwell floor, phone silent in my hand. When I finally checked the app, his profile was gone. Unmatched, no history. I walked home after dark, sticking to lit streets, checking reflections in windows. I kept expecting to see him there, just behind me. It has been months now. I still go to public places. I still trust crowds. But sometimes when I feel someone standing too close and nobody else reacts, my chest tightens and I reach for my phone without thinking. I did not plan on staying long that night, which is funny because that detail keeps replaying in my head now. It was supposed to be quick. Just a casual meet in a building I already knew, one of those converted factory places with weird hallways and old elevators that groan like they are tired of lifting people. I had been there before for a pop-up art thing, so when she suggested it, I did not think twice. I remember standing outside, checking my phone, feeling that dumb mix of bored and hopeful that always shows up right before you wish you had stayed home. The app was already open in my hand when I walked in. I had been swiping without really looking, just killing time. The lobby smelled like dust and cleaner, and the lights were half dim, half buzzing. There was a security desk, but no one behind it, just a monitor looping a camera feed from empty hallways. I leaned against the wall and kept swiping, more out of habit than interest. That was when I noticed the app would not close. I hit the home button once. Nothing. Swiped up to force it away. It snapped back like a rubber band. I laughed under my breath, thinking my phone was acting up again. I tried locking the screen. When I unlocked it, the app was still there, exactly where I left it, like it had been waiting. I told myself I would deal with it later. Phones glitch. Buildings glitch too, especially old ones. The elevator doors slid open with a tired sound, and I stepped inside, still holding my phone. The doors closed behind me with a heavier click than I remembered. As the elevator started moving, my thumb swiped again without thinking. The app refreshed. New profile. I barely glanced at it before feeling something shift. Not a sound exactly. More like pressure, like when air changes before rain. The elevator slowed, then stopped between floors. My stomach dropped. I looked up the floor indicator. Blank. The lights flickered once and stayed on. I pressed the button for the next floor. Nothing happened. Then I heard it. Somewhere below me, metal slid against metal. Slow, deliberate, like a door being pushed shut. I stood there listening, heart thumping harder with each second. The elevator was still. No emergency music, no alarm. Just quiet. I pulled my phone closer and swiped again, more aggressive this time, annoyed. Another profile loaded. Another shift. This time the sound was closer. A heavy click, like a deadbolt locking into place. I froze. My thumb hovered over the screen. The app felt heavier in my hand, like it mattered more than it should. I tried closing it again. Nothing. I tried turning the phone off completely. The screen dimmed for half a second, then brightened, app still open. The elevator jolted slightly and continued upward like nothing had happened. I let out a breath I did not realize I was holding. When the doors opened, I stepped out fast, eager for space. The hallway was longer than I remembered. Concrete floors, exposed pipes, doors lining both sides, each with small metal numbers screwed on crooked. The lights overhead hummed unevenly. I took a few steps, then stopped. One of the doors behind me was closed now. Not just closed. Locked. I could tell by the way the handle sat, stiff and final. I looked back at my phone. My thumb was sweating. I swiped again by accident, just a small movement. The app responded instantly. Down the hall, another door locked. This one louder. No mistaking it. My chest tightened. The pattern clicked into place too fast to ignore. Swipe. Lock. Swipe. Lock. The app was not just stuck open. It was doing something. I backed per the elevator, keeping my phone perfectly still. The elevator doors were still open, waiting. I stepped inside carefully, like sudden movement might trigger something. I hit the lobby button. Nothing. The doors slid shut on their own. The elevator started moving again, this time going up past the floor I wanted. My phone buzzed once in my hand. Not a notification. Just a vibration, like a reminder. I tried every button. No response. The elevator kept climbing. When it stopped again, the doors opened to a different hallway. Darker. Narrower. This one smelled like old paint and damp concrete. I stepped out because staying in the elevator felt worse. The doors closed behind me immediately, sealing with that same heavy sound. I stood there, breathing too fast, phone held out like a shield. I could hear doors locking somewhere nearby, even though I had not swiped. Then I realized my thumb was resting on the screen, barely moving just enough. I pulled my hand away like the phone was hot. The hallway stretched in both directions, identical doors repeating into shadow. I picked one direction and started walking, keeping my phone flat against my palm so my thumb could not move. Halfway down the hall, I heard footsteps. Not rushed, not sneaking, just steady. I stopped walking and listened. The steps stopped, too. My phone buzzed again. The app refreshed on its own. A new profile filled the screen. The picture showed a hallway. This hallway, taken from farther down, angled toward me. My heart slammed so hard it hurt. I turned and walked the other way, faster now. The footsteps followed, keeping distance. I reached the end of the hall and found a stairwell door. I grabbed the handle and pulled. Locked. I did not swipe. I knew I did not. But the sound came anyway. Another door somewhere sealing itself. Panic started creeping in, ugly and hot. I ran back the way I came, shoes slapping loud against the floor. The footsteps picked up, matching me without trying. I reached another stairwell. Locked. Another. Locked. Every exit sealed, one by one, like the building was shrinking around me. I ducked into a side corridor, narrower than the rest, walls unfinished. My phone vibrated again, harder this time, like it was demanding attention. I looked despite myself. The app now showed a counter at the top. Number of swipes remaining. I had not noticed it before. I had no idea how many were left. The number was low enough to make my throat go dry. I pressed myself against the wall and slid down until I was sitting on the cold floor. A footstep stopped nearby. I could hear breathing now. Not mine. I stared at the screen, trying to think. Every instinct screamed to throw the phone, smash it, but something told me that would not help. The app felt connected to the building in a way that did not care about my logic. I swiped up slowly, carefully, just once. Somewhere very close, a door slammed shut. The footsteps moved again, closer now, echoing louder in the narrow space. I stood up, legs shaking, and ran toward the sound of air, guessing where the building might open up. I burst into a large room filled with stacked chairs and folded tables, like a forgotten event space. There were 2 exits on the far side. Both doors were open. Hope surged so fast it almost knocked me over. My phone buzzed violently. The app refreshed. The counter dropped by 1. I did not swipe. I ran. Halfway across the room, the first door slammed shut. The second followed the second later, sealing with that same deadbolt sound. I skidded to a stop, chest heaving, staring at the locked doors. The footsteps entered the room behind me. I did not turn around. I looked down at my phone. The app filled the screen, brighter than before. The counter was almost gone. I realized then that the swipes were not just my thumb. Every panic move, every nervous twitch, every unconscious gesture, the app was counting all of it. I forced my hand still, pressed them flat against my thighs. My phone buzzed once, softer this time, like approval. The footsteps stopped a few feet away. I could feel someone standing there, close enough to feel heat, but I kept staring at the screen. The counter hit 0. The app froze. The screen went black. Every door in the room unlocked at once. The sound was massive, metal echoing through the building like a wave breaking. I did not wait. I ran for the nearest exit and did not stop until I was outside, air burning my lungs, night wrapped around me like a blanket. My phone was normal again. Home screen. No app. The building behind me looked empty, quiet, like nothing had happened. I have not swiped on anything since. Not dating apps. Not menus. Not photos. My thumb stays still now, even when my phone lights up on its own. I knew something was wrong before it got scary. It was that tiny wrong feeling, like when your phone is at 1%, but it still says you have time. I was sitting on the floor of my living room with clean laundry spread everywhere, socks in sad pairs, dryer heat still clinging to everything. It was late enough that the street outside sounded hollow, just buses sighing, and the occasional engine driving past. I opened the app mostly out of boredom, not expectation. I did not think it would turn into the kind of night that sticks to you. His profile had been sitting in my matches for a few days already. Not ignored, just waiting. His pictures were kind of boring in a comforting way. Bad lighting, crooked angles, nothing trying too hard. His bio was short and unfinished, like he forgot to come back and fix it. That usually makes me feel less pressure, like the person on the other end is probably normal. I decided to message him because my hands were already warm from the laundry and my phone felt heavier than usual. I typed out a simple opener. Nothing clever. Just enough to get things moving. Before my thumb even reached the send button, the message bubble turned gray and showed as read. Not delivered. Not typing. Read like he had already opened it. I stared at the screen waiting for it to correct itself. Apps lag. Wi-Fi drops. I had just come back from the basement laundry room where the signal is trash. I backed out of the chat and opened it again. Same thing. The message was still sitting there, marked red, even though I had not sent it. I deleted it and tried again. Typed slower this time, watching each letter appear. The moment I finished the sentence, before my thumb moved, it flipped to red again. My stomach did that slow dip, the kind you get when an elevator starts moving before you expect it to. I checked my connection. Full bars. I closed the app completely and reopened it. I even restarted my phone because that is what you do when you want a simple fix. When I opened the chat again, the message was gone. Clean slate. I breathed out and told myself I imagined it. I started typing again, more casually, like if I acted normal the app would too. Same thing. Read before sent. Like someone on the other end was watching the words form. I sat there for a minute, phone resting on my knee, listening to the dryer thump slow and uneven behind the wall. The room felt smaller than it had 10 minutes earlier. I typed a shorter message. Just one word. It still flipped to red before I touched send. I backed out to his profile, half expecting it to look different. It did not. Same photos. Same half-finished bio. I scrolled through my other chats. Everything else looked normal. Messages waiting to be sent stayed unsent. Nothing else marked red. Just him. I locked my phone and stood up, folding a shirt with way too much focus. I needed to move my body to quiet my head. I paced the length of the room, counting steps, avoiding the mirror by the door, because I did not feel like dealing with my own face. After a few minutes, I unlocked my phone again. There was a new notification from the app. Not a message. Just a little alert dot on his chat. I opened it. The chat window was empty except for a small line at the top saying he had read my message. Not messages. Message. Singular. The one I never sent. I scrolled up and down like that might reveal something hidden. Nothing. No text. No typing indicator. Just proof that something that should not exist had been seen. I sat back down on the floor, this time with my back against the bed. The room felt quieter now that the dryer had stopped. I could hear the building settling, pipes ticking, someone walking in the hall above me. Normal sounds that felt too loud. I typed again, hands shaking enough that I kept hitting the wrong letters. The message marked red before I finished the last word. My phone vibrated immediately after. Another notification from the app. Same alert. No message. I realized then that the timing was exact. Not delayed. Not early. Instant. Like the app knew what I was going to say before I did. That thought stuck to me harder than anything else. I started testing it, even though I knew I probably should not. I typed nonsense. Random letters. Backspace. New word. The moment a thought took shape into something readable, it marked red. When I deleted everything and left the typing field blank, nothing happened. It only reacted when the message made sense. My skin felt tight, like I had been in the sun too long. I stood up again and walked to the window, pulling the curtain back just enough to look out. The street was mostly empty. A bus idled at the stop, lights humming, doors closed. I had the sudden urge to be somewhere else, anywhere else. I grabbed my jacket and keys without fully deciding to leave. The hallway outside my living room smelled like cleaner and old carpet. I walked fast, phone in my pocket, like it might buzz if I acknowledged it. Outside, the air was cooler and damp. It helped a little. I walked toward the bus stop, boots scuffing the sidewalk. I pulled my phone out again as I waited. Another notification. Same thing. He had read my message. I had not typed anything since leaving. I opened the app anyway. The chat now showed a timestamp under the invisible message. It matched the exact moment I stepped outside, like whatever was on the other end knew when I crossed the threshold. I sat on the bus when it arrived, choosing a seat near the back. The interior lights flickered slightly as it pulled away. I typed again, slower than before, watching my surroundings through the reflection in the window. The message marked red halfway through the sentence this time, not even waiting for me to finish. My phone vibrated twice in quick succession. The app refreshed on its own. The chat window scrolled down slightly, like something new had been added, but there was still no text. Just another timestamp, closer to now. I started to feel stupid for being scared of something so small. No threats. No words. Just a broken feature. But my heart would not listen. It kept beating too fast, like it was trying to get ahead of something. I got off the bus 3 stops later and walked without direction. Closed shops, dark windows, the glow of a 24-hour grocery store down the block. I stopped under a streetlight and finally typed what I had been avoiding. The message turned red instantly. No delay at all. My phone buzzed hard enough that I almost dropped it. The app opened itself. The chat refreshed. For the first time, there was text. Not from him, from me. A message I had not typed, sitting above the input field, already marked red. It was written in my tone. Same spacing. Same way I avoid punctuation. It described exactly where I was standing, the light overhead. The sound of traffic 2 streets over. The way my left foot hurt from the walk. I backed out of the app so fast my thumb slipped. My reflection stared back at me from the dark screen, warped by the streetlight. I felt like I was being read the same way I read other people, reduced to patterns and habits. Another vibration, then another. I opened the app again because not knowing felt worse. The chat filled itself slowly, line by line, all marked red as they appeared. Each one a thought I had already had that night. Doubts, excuses. The plan to delete the app in the morning. The idea that I was overreacting. I realized then that it was not reading my messages. It was reading me. I walked the rest of the way home without looking at my phone again. Every step felt counted. When I got back to my living room, I locked the door and leaned against it, breathing hard. The room looked the same as I left it. Laundry on the floor. Bed unmade. Nothing out of place. I set my phone face down on the desk and left it there while I changed and crawled into bed. I did not turn the light off. I did not check the time. I just stared at the ceiling until my eyes burned. At some point, the phone vibrated one last time. I did not pick it up. I did not need to. In the morning, the app was gone. Not deleted, just missing. No icon, no trace. My phone history showed nothing. It was like it had never been installed. But sometimes when I type anywhere now, I pause before hitting send, because there is still that split second where I feel like the words have already been seen. The first thing I remember is how bored I was before it happened. Not dramatic bored, just that flat scrolling boredom where your thumb keeps moving even though your brain checked out 10 minutes ago. I was stretched out on my bed in my tiny live space of a closed thrift store. Phone inches from my face, the glow making the ceiling look yellow. The app kept showing me the same people in a different order, like it thought I would eventually give up and choose someone just to make it stop. Then her profile slid into view and I sat up without meaning to. Her picture felt warmer than the others. Not edited to death, not trying to sell anything. She was leaning against a fairy railing with water behind her, hair loose, half smile like she had been caught mid-thought. The rest of the profile was light, kind of messy in a way I liked. Random interests, late-night walks, photos taken by friends instead of carefully framed. I matched fast, mostly because I wanted to interrupt the night before it swallowed itself. We ended up meeting near the harbor a few hours later. Not a bar, not a restaurant. Just the public docks where the ferries come in late, and the city feels unfinished. Sodium lights buzzing, ropes creaking, water slapping against concrete. It felt like a place where you could stand next to someone without forcing anything. I checked her profile while I was waiting, mostly to calm my nerves, and it looked the same as before. She arrived right on time, the kind of on time that makes you think someone actually planned. Everything about her matched the photos in a reassuring way. Same smile, same little scar near her eyebrow I had noticed earlier. I felt that stupid relief that comes when reality lines up with expectation. My phone buzzed in my pocket, but I ignored it. We walked along the dock, stopping to watch a ferry pull in, engines humming so low you could feel it in your chest. I pulled my phone out to check the time and saw the app had sent a notification saying her profile was updated. I frowned because that was weird. I tapped it. The main picture had changed slightly. Not enough to scream about, just enough to make my eyes itch. The angle was different. The lighting flatter. I tilted my phone, then looked up at her, then back at the screen. It was still her, but something was off. Her jaw looked sharper. Her eyes sat a little closer together. I told myself it was just a new photo she swapped in earlier, and the app was slow to refresh. I locked the phone and kept walking. A harbor smelled like metal and salt, and a gull screamed somewhere overhead. I felt fine until my phone buzzed again. Updated profile. Again. This time I stopped walking. The picture was closer now. Her face filled more of the frame. The background was gone. Just skin and shadow. I stared at it longer than I meant to, tracing the lines like a puzzle. Her nose looked different, straighter, familiar in a way I could not place. I glanced up at her and felt a cold drop in my chest. She was still smiling, still looking out at the water, completely unchanged. My phone buzzed again. The image refreshed on its own. I did not touch the screen. The face on my phone was not hers anymore. It was not fully me either, but it was heading there. The eyes were mine. I recognized them immediately because I have spent years trying to look normal in photos and never quite managing it. The mouth was still hers. The skin tone sat somewhere between. I shoved the phone back into my pocket so hard my knuckles hurt. I told myself it was a glitch. Apps glitch all the time. Filters misalign. Servers take up. I focused on the sound of water, the low thud of ropes hitting the dock. I counted steps in my head like that could anchor me. My pocket buzzed again, and again. I could feel heat pooling in my face. I did not want to look, which meant I had to. I pulled the phone out with shaking hands and held it low, angled away like it might see me if I met it straight on. The picture was almost fully me now. Not a mirror image, not flipped. Just my face, exactly as it looks in photos I hate. Uneven smile, one eyebrow slightly higher, that tiny mark near my lip I always forget about until someone points it out. The only thing that was still hers was the hair. It hung longer than mine, framing my face in a way that felt wrong. I scrolled. The other photos were changing too, each one lagging behind the last, like a slow wave. Her body shots still showed her shape, but the face on them was mine. Badly blended at first, then cleaner, like the app was correcting itself. I looked up at her again, half expecting to see my own face staring back. She looked the same. Human, real, laughing quietly at something in the distance. The disconnect made my stomach twist. My phone buzzed again. This time the bio refreshed. It still had her interests listed, but the small about line at the top had changed. It now described things I do. Dumb specific things, liking late ferries. Biting the inside of my cheek when thinking. Keeping my wallet in the wrong pocket. I had never typed that anywhere. I had never even noticed it about myself until then. We sat on a bench near the edge of the dock. I needed to ground myself to feel something solid. The wood was cold and damp under my hands. I stared out at the dark water and tried to slow my breathing. My phone rested face down on my thigh, vibrating every few seconds like a pulse. When I flipped it over again, the main photo was just me. No trace of her left. It was a photo I had never taken, from an angle I recognized from mirrors in public restrooms. Slightly above, catching the tired set of my eyes. The background was the dock. This dock. The lights behind me matched the ones over the water in front of us. My throat felt tight, like I had swallowed something wrong. I scrolled down fast, desperate for proof that I was losing it. The other photos had finished updating. All me. Different angles. Different days. Clothes I owned. Places I had been. Even one taken in my living room, the yellow ceiling unmistakable. I locked the screen and shoved the phone deep into my jacket. I focused on the cold air, the weight of my boots, the sound of a ferry horn cutting through everything. My brain kept offering explanations and rejecting them just as fast. Hacking. Coincidence. Elaborate prank. Nothing fit cleanly enough to stick. I stood up suddenly, the bench scraping loud against concrete. I needed space. Movement. Something that did not involve that screen. I walked toward the far end of the dock where the lights thinned out, pretending to stretch my legs. My phone buzzed the entire way like it was impatient. I stopped near a stack of crates and finally checked again. The profile name had changed too. It was my name. Spelled the way only my family spells it, wrong on purpose. The status line beneath it updated while I watched. Standing 10 feet away, trying not to look back. I felt my skin prickle. I turned slowly, heart hammering, scanning the dock behind me. People moved in loose clusters, jackets hunched, faces blurred by distance. I spotted her by the bench, exactly where I had left her. She was looking down at her phone now, face lit from below. Mine. Her screen reflected in her eyes, and for a split second I saw myself looking back from it. Not a photo. Not reflection. Me blinking. I did not wait to understand. I walked fast toward the parking lot, boots slapping loud, breath coming too quick. My phone buzzed so hard it rattled against my ribs. I did not check it again. I did not slow down. I got into my car and locked the doors. The interior smelled like old fabric and dust, familiar and grounding. I tossed my phone onto the passenger seat and stared straight ahead, hands gripping the wheel until my fingers ached. After a full minute, the buzzing stopped. I picked up the phone with 2 fingers like it might move on its own. The app was open. My profile stared back at me. Not hers. Mine. Every photo accurate. Every detail filled in deeper than I had ever bothered to go. Habits, routines, little fears. Things I never told anyone. At the very bottom was a single new line. No longer needs to pretend. I deleted the app right there, thumb jabbing harder than necessary. The screen went blank. Just my reflection staring back, warped by fingerprints and low light. I drove home without music, without checking my phone again. When I got back to my living room, I covered the mirror with a towel before lying down. I slept with the lights on. In the morning, my phone was quiet. No app. No trace. Just my face staring back at me when the screen went dark. I almost skipped the night entirely. It was one of those evenings where the air felt stale even with the window open, and my phone battery was low enough to make every scroll feel like a bad idea. I was half on the floor, half on my bed, staring at the ceiling and letting the app do that thing where it shows the same faces again, like it is testing how bored you really are. Then his profile popped up again. Not new, not boosted, just there, like it had been waiting for me to circle back. His pictures were normal in a way that almost felt planned. No blurry bathroom mirror, no group shots that made you guess which one he was. Just him in different places, always centered, always looking straight at the camera like it mattered. The bio was short, not clever, not annoying. Just said he liked late hours, quiet places, and paying attention. That last part stuck with me more than it should have. I matched because I wanted something to happen that night, anything, even a mistake. We ended up meeting the same evening, which already felt reckless but also easy. A food truck parked near an old bowling alley that never closed, lights buzzing, people coming and going in loose waves. It felt public enough to be safe and messy enough to disappear into if it got awkward. I remember checking his profile while I was walking there, mostly out of habit, and noticing the bio had changed. Just a little. It now said he liked late hours, quiet places, and noticing details. I figured I had misread it before. He was already there when I arrived. I recognized him instantly, which was weird because I am usually bad at that. He looked the same as his pictures, but flatter somehow, like the camera had done him a favor by freezing him. I noticed my phone buzzed right as I spotted him. I assumed it was the app telling me I had arrived or something equally pointless. I did not check it yet. The first thing that felt off was how little he moved. Not stiff, just efficient. Every step had a reason. Every pause landed exactly where it needed to. I caught myself watching his hands because they stayed still unless they were doing something useful. I felt that low static feeling in my chest that I usually get when I drink too much energy stuff, even though I had not. We walked around the trucks, the smell of fried food mixing with rain that never quite fell. The bowling alley doors kept opening and closing, letting out bursts of noise and neon. I pulled out my phone to check the time and saw a notification from the app. It said his profile was updated. That was strange because we were literally standing there. I tapped it without thinking. The new line was under his interests. It said notices when she tucks her hair behind her ear when nervous. I froze in a way that made my shoulders lock out before my brain caught up. I had done that exact thing less than a minute earlier while waiting in line. I scrolled up and down, convinced it was some kind of coincidence or a generic line that could apply to anyone. It was not. The rest of the profile was the same, except for one more added detail lower down. Prefers the left side of the walkway, avoids puddles. I told myself it had to be some trick. Maybe the app was glitching, pulling from location data, making guesses. I slid my phone back into my pocket and focused on the noise around us. The hum of generators, the sound of bowling balls hitting pins like distant thunder. I kept my eyes forward. I did not look at him. As we moved, my phone buzzed again. Then again. I could feel each vibration like a tap on my leg, patient and persistent. I did not want to check, which made me want to check more. When I finally did, the profile had changed again. Notices the way her steps slow when she feels watched. My stomach dropped so hard it felt like missing a stair. I stopped walking. He stopped too, perfectly timed, like we were connected by something invisible. I stared at his shoes instead of his face. My phone screen reflected the overhead lights, making everything look underwater. Another update slid in before I could lock the screen. Heart rate increases near a lot of machinery. I was standing right next to a generator. I moved away without saying anything, letting the crowd carry me a few steps. I pretended to be interested in a menu I had already looked at twice. My hands were shaking now, and I hated that it was obvious. I checked the profile again, like I was checking a bruise to see if it had spread. The list was longer. It was organized. Each line time-stamped within minutes. Each one something I had done, or felt, or thought I had hidden. Glances at exits. Unlocks phone when uncomfortable. Keeps keys in right pocket. That one scared me the most. I had not even been aware I did that. It was just a habit, something my body decided years ago. I felt suddenly transparent, like my skin had turned into glass and he could see everything stacked inside me, all the little rules I followed without thinking. I looked up at him finally. His expression had not changed. If anything, he looked calmer than before. Like this was the part he was waiting for. My phone buzzed again. Looks up when she realizes. I stepped back, bumping into someone behind me, mumbling a quick apology without thinking. I moved toward the bowling alley because it was louder, brighter, full of people. The doors swung open and swallowed me in neon and noise. My phone buzzed the entire way. Adjust pace to stay ahead. Chooses noise over open space. Inside, everything blurred together. Shoes sliding on polished floors, screens flashing scores, the smell of old carpet and cleaner. I ducked between lanes, pretending to look for a restroom, then cutting through to the other side. My phone screen lit up on its own like it knew I was looking. Tries to lose me without committing to running. I felt my face burn. Not fear exactly. Something sharper. Like being caught cheating on a test you did not even study for. I pushed through another set of doors and ended up in a side hallway with vending machines and flickering lights. The noise dropped to a dull roar. My reflection in the glass looked wrong, stretched, and pale. Another update. Breathing shallow. Fingers cold. I slammed the app closed and opened my camera instead, pointing it down the hallway behind me. No one. Just a hum of machines and a soda can stuck halfway in its slot. I backed toward the exit, keeping the camera up like it could protect me. When I checked again, his profile picture had changed. It was not a selfie. It was the hallway. My hallway. Taken from farther down, angled just enough to catch my reflection in the glass. I did not scream. I did not run. My body went quiet, like it was conserving energy. I turned and walked back toward the main area because standing still felt worse. Every step felt chosen for me already. My phone buzzed, but I did not look. I made it back into the crowd and headed straight for the parking lot, weaving between cars, the air cooler out there more real. I unlocked my door with hands that barely felt attached to me and got inside. I locked it, then locked it again. My phone buzzed one last time. Sits in car for 30 seconds before starting engine. I dropped the phone on the passenger seat like it was hot. I started the car immediately, tires crunching on gravel as I pulled out without looking back. The whole drive home felt warped, like the road was longer than it should be. I did not check the app again until I was in my room, door closed, lights on, everything exactly where it belonged. The profile was gone, unmatched, no history. No updates, just empty space where it had been, like it never existed. My phone still felt wrong in my hand, heavier, aware. I deleted the app that night. Not dramatically, not as a statement. Just quietly, like you put something down and hope it stays there. Sometimes when my phone buzzes for no reason, I still think about how accurate he was, how fast, how close.